Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Singularity Lab, your home for breaking stories in science, technology, and futurism. My name is Michael Mataluni. Joining me today is Luis Jimenez.
Hello.
Do you guys hear that?
And it's a loop.
And we're on a loop. That's all right.
Are we? I'm not on a loop.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't hear that? I got a loop,
No.
a bit of a loop.
No.
Right. Luis.
What's shaking, buddy?
Brother. How are you?
You too.
Good.
It feels too long.
It's been too long. It's been way too long.
It feels too long.
But we got some good stuff coming up tomorrow, which we'll hit on in just a second. Why don't we go ahead and bring in the rest of our co-hosts, Kristen Mataluni. Lovely to see you, madam.
Hey, Kristen.
Hey.
And we've got the one, the only Rather Be Squidding with us today. Rather Be Squidding, what's going on, brother?
Hey, guys, not a lot. Glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. We've got a heck of a room here. Kevin D, what's up? Grandmaster, hello. G West, great to see you. Fifi, Kev, Anonymous Rex, Stuart, always. Tina Tomaszewski, great to see you. John Brusso, what's going on? We've got an amazing show for you guys today. I'm super excited. But before we get to our guests, we're going to do what we always do at the beginning of the Singularity Lab, and we're going to go over a logical fallacy because I think it's important that we do our best to get rid of the cobwebs that keep us from understanding the nature of reality so we can accurately speculate on the future. So today's cognitive bias is the halo effect. You guys ever heard of this, the halo effect?
I don't think so.
How much you like someone or how attractive they are influences your judgment of them. Example, if you notice that you're giving consistently high or low marks across the board, it's worth considering that your judgment may be suffering from the halo effect. I almost wonder if this is also the hotness effect.
Or the Lou Elizondo effect.
Or the Lou... Damn. It's similar to an appeal to authority, is it not? Where you're giving people additional credibility based on the stance they have in the societal hierarchy. No?
For sure. I mean, that's how sales have worked forever, right? Like attractive people are good at selling stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Flight attendants have always tended to be on the attractive side. So have
what are they selling?
Pharmaceutical.
They're just convincing you're not going to die.
They're selling the skies, Kristen. They're selling the friendly skies, my friends.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so the halo effect. All right, so we've got an amazing guest for you guys today. I am super stoked. We've been planning this for weeks and weeks and weeks. This gentleman is the executive producer for The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, TJ Allard. He's also a two-time Emmy Award-winning producer, showrunner, and on-camera host. The supervising producer of over 100 episodes of NBC's Open House NYC and Open House. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, TJ Allard. TJ,
hey,
how the hell are you, man?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. We're thrilled to have you. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz, and I know we can't talk about, the future of the Secret of the Skinwalker Ranch, but there's a lot of interesting chatter happening, and I'd just love to know how you got started with this vision, because you weren't necessarily in this sort of alternative space or fringe space, I guess one could say, when it comes to Skinwalker Ranch. So how did you get into it? What's your
I'm glad you asked. What's funny is I guess I always was. I was always that guy, right? In my growing up, who always questioned everything. What I find really funny is I don't like to call it that fringe space anymore. It was for so long, but I've been when I talk to trying to pitch other shows and work on other projects, I call it the science of the unknown. That's what I've been using, the phrase I've been using, because I think that it's we're kind of getting to a point where we can lose that negative connotation and try to bring more mainstream thinking into it. With Avi and with all these big brains actually coming in now, you're seeing okay, let's rebrand this thing. The science of the unknown is a much better way in my mind, and I'm biased because it's kind of hey, this is what I was thinking, so everyone should think this way.
Right.
And I was, growing up and stuff, it was always, wow, obviously we're not, there's other things happening. And I didn't like the dismissive tone I got growing up all the time. Oh, you're not thinking straight. Well, actually, I kind of am. Just not reading not believing everything that I see just because you're saying it to me. You have to think. What they always say is think around the box. Don't think outside of it. Just think around it. Because if you go outside, then people kind of think, there's something else there. But if you just go around it, and then then the box kind of moves to go around you, and you just keep on doing that until you get to a point where everyone's thinking kind of the same.
I love this idea, and it definitely speaks to your career as an executive producer. You're very good at rebranding things, aren't you?
I try. I'd like to think that way.
I agree with you, though. I think it's important. It's important for us to approach any sort of. I mean, this is at the beginning of the show. This is why we talk about cognitive bias, logical fallacy, because so often we put things in boxes where they don't necessarily belong because we have a preconceived idea about what it means. And I think it's dangerous. So being able to kick off some of those cobwebs, I think is good. So when did you how did this project come into your life?
Sure. So I should say though, getting off of that part of it, like the trajectory was like, I was a tech nerd. I mean, I started off as a video game designer for Ubisoft. I actually worked on
Not another video game designer.
back in the 90s.
No, I'm kidding. That's
Beat
just a knock
myself.
on Mick West because we love him.
Nice. Oh God, yeah, right. No, I guess it was around the same time though. But I was I worked at Ubisoft. I was part of Team Gotham for movies, and I worked on the first Batman animated series game.
Oh, dope.
We did it different than they do now. Like I wasn't a coder, so we made the game with graph paper, Legos, and whiteboard. That was how we designed it, which is like archaic. I mean, that was like our level design was that, and we'd come up with these thick documents like Batman walks into a room, and if he looks left, there's this, and then you have to, tell the coders this is what we want to do. How do you put that in?
Right.
And so, but I was always into tech, and then I helped launch Gameloft, which is now a gaming site, but back then it was gaming news. Now they make games, mobile games primarily, but back then it was a gaming news site, and so I'd always been into tech, and then. As I started going further and further in my career, I did a lot of the on-camera stuff, and I did some of the, producing, but I always found myself drawn to these high-tech stories. Even when I was doing like, open house or any of these home renovation shows, it was always I always leaned into like hey, is there a cool like gravity bed that, not a water bed, but a bed that just hovers above the ground for gravity? And that would be like really eccentric and awesome. Let's find that. And so I, fall in love with tech stuff. And then as I got out, started doing stuff on, on my own with my producing partner, Joel Patterson. We went to I should back up. He and I went to college together in upstate New York. And then after, I did a lot of the designing stuff and working for big companies, he and I kind of jumped off on our own, and we've been pitching stuff. And the Skinwalker thing happened because of the frustration that I was feeling from pitching networks about these shows. I kind of got into the community, just started listening and seeing what the big, what the white whales were, right? Like what's that thing that no one can get to? And anytime we pitch, it was always like, yeah, but that's not, Area 51 or Skinwalker Ranch. And I heard it so many times. And I'm like, screw this, challenge accepted. I was like, fine, all right. And then took about 2 years to kind of make that happen and get through Brandon's superhero thinking when he set up a shell company in Delaware called Adamantium LLC. In Delaware, you don't have to publish the names of the owners. And adamantium, as any other comic nerds know, is Wolverine's claws are made out of adamantium, right? So he started a shell company, literally adamantium. And it took me a long time to get to Winterton and, and just kind of track that down. And then, that was a whole long process. And here we are. Fast forward till now.
So you were kind of like beating down Brandon's door, being like, look, we need to do this show. Is that kind of how this came about?
Yeah. So there's funny parts to that story. Brandon didn't go by the name Brandon for about the first year. He
went by Wolverine?
Poe. Poe, which was short for property owner. Because we were so paranoid after we signed all of our agreements and our NDA and everything. It was like, I don't know if they're listening to our phones. You kind of fall into the idea of like, is everyone monitoring us? What's going on? All the legend and lore. When I first sat down with Joel and Brandon, and we had one of the executives from history at a restaurant in Utah, We sat down and we're like, okay, Bert, this is Poe. Poe, this is Bert. And he's like, Poe. And Brandon's like, you didn't tell my name? I said, no, you told us not to. It's like, what do you think, man? So yeah, but I did. I chased him down through Tom Winterton for a long time. And I became really good friends with Tom, with Jim, with Eric, with Bryant, and love those guys. Still talk to them pretty regularly too. So,
Right on.
and it's yeah. I mean, I guess that's where we are. Like, so we, eventually Brandon agreed. I think the first confirmation I got that he was an actual person was a 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 a.m. phone call for about 40 seconds, where I was telling Tom, listen, I just need to confirm that you're not BSing me. I need to know that he exists. And sure enough, I got a call from his office, and he was kind of like, it was kind of coded. It was like, yes, this is Brandon. Yes. Really? Are you sure? He's like, this is my phone number. Yeah, you can look it up. And it was kind of like, all right, then I guess we're going with it. So
he's almost like Bruce Wayne.
Not almost. He pretty much is.
Yeah. He's got a Fugal cave beneath the mansion.
Oh, wow.
I ain't saying nothing.
Well, like, I guess what's the one thing about Brandon Fugal that you would or you can't tell us about that maybe nobody else knows? Like, what is he like? What is he like? Like, I mean, is he technically your boss on set? Is he an executive producer or? How does that work?
There's a lot of executive producers, right? It's more of just line lines, like lines. And I think this season I'm now co-executive producer because I'm not on set. I haven't been out there in like 2 years. So, and I want to make that clear because people still think like, I'm involved in the day-to-day. I'm absolutely not involved.
Oh, you're not?
Not in the day-to-day at all. The Prometheus, I mean, those guys are doing a bang-up job with it. They're killing it right now. And so, after Kevin had passed, and Joe Lassard taking over, and Joe's awesome. He's doing a great job with the show. So it's, I mean, I'm still involved in a sense, but I'm not, I talk to the guys, we bounce ideas and stuff, but it's nothing, nothing official. Like, I can't say like, I don't like that, get it out. I don't have that ability. So, just to be clear, I don't want people thinking I'm misrepresenting like what I'm doing here or something like that. But, they'll all tell you how the show came to be.
Does Brandon have that ability to say, I don't like that, cut it out?
Absolutely. Listen,
how often does he exercise that right?
Well, so he not as much as you would think, because I think he's trusting the process. Like, he's very much into letting specialists do their thing. Like, he's not stepping on Eric's toes, like in science investigations. He's not stepping on Prometheus' toes in, television production. He knows like when to let the experts do it, do what they're best at. But he's, listen, don't let the nice guy demeanor fool you.
That's what I was kind of getting to, because I saw him on that Tucker Carlson special, and he's flying in his helicopter over like this piece of property I think that he owned, and he's like, "Yeah, this is America, not like those," and he used the P word here. I don't we're a monetized channel, so I don't want to. And I was like, I was caught aback. I was like, "Whoa, okay, that guy, he might be either like fun to work for because he doesn't micromanage, or terrifying because maybe when you don't come through with what he wants, there's going to be hell to pay."
No, at least I can only speak from my experience and the people that I've talked to about it. And working with him, like, he's awesome to work with, man. And I'm more just kidding when I say he's a badass. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's actually a really good guy, big heart. He's been super open about all of this. Like, we did at one point, Joel and I almost had to kind of plead with him, like, look, please, this is, when I pitched this idea, it was, I wanted to find okay, so you try to do if that, then what else? Okay, when you think of like development, at least I do. And I was like, what's the #1 show right now? Well, it was Oak Island. And so my idea was, let's find a paranormal Oak Island. And where you can do a long-term investigation of something, because I was frustrated with watching a guy rip his shirt off to fight ghosts on a weekend. Like, that's not, what is that? That's not science, that's nothing.
I have brought up Oak Island on this show so many times because it's one of my favorites, and I love it because it's the thing that I love about it the most is that it is the scientific method being filmed, and nobody jumps to any conclusions on the show. They're just like, here's what's in the dirt, and if it's not there, nothing is added. I mean, of course, it's got the drama with the music, and it cuts right before they pull up, wood or something. But for me, I love it because it is the scientific process to a T, and you can see. How many seasons has it been on? 10 now?
Yeah, I think it's
11,
10 or 11 right now.
Going on 11. It is the way, like their museum that they have on the island, how the collection has grown of stuff that they found. And for me, that's fun. Like, that's fun because you could physically see what they're actually finding, and it's painting a picture, even though the picture's so far from being finished. It's still really difficult to tell what happened there, but at least something is being collected, and it goes to show you how long the scientific process takes. Right. This is a 10-year effort, this show, and they've found trinkets and coins and old wood that dates back and coal, like that was in a fire pit that they could carbon date, like just weird stuff where you're like, okay, something definitely happened here, but we don't know. And whereas with Skinwalker, you don't get that tangible part of it. It's like trying to catch smoke. But I just wanted to say that about Oak Island because I love that show. And I kind of, did you pitch that show too?
No, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay,
unfortunately.
Right. Somebody in the chat was like, "Hey, ask him about Oak Island." I was like, "Okay." And then you brought it up. I was like, "Oh my God, were we going to get into an Oak Island conversation?"
No, I mean, I just know that History Channel, to their credit, they took with Joel and I, we're Letter 10 Productions that we operate under, and they took that and they were like, "Listen, it's a co-production with Prometheus. They're doing Oak Island." Like in the pitch, I mean, they actually heard me say the word, so it's kind of like, well, in their mind, well, this is a no-brainer. Who better to pair that with than the guys who are making our #1 show? And that's, that we can get into later on, like when we talk more about like TV and where this stuff is going. But, and it's great. And I think, Brandon initially resisted being like, I think he wanted it in his head, had a different idea of it. I think nowadays, I think he's seeing like, yes, this is why experts are doing what experts are doing, why the show's going so well. Because everything with him is big. It has to be big. He'll tell you himself. It's like it's about the the sizzle. Like that's right. I want to dominate. I want market domination. Every aspect of his life. And with this show, they're getting it. I mean, the show's kicking ass, and I hope it continues for the next few seasons too. So
that's amazing. Yeah, you guys have had some great success. Real quick, I wanted to shout out to Bottled Water with his $20 donation. Hi, TJ. Yeah. Hi, everyone else. Glad to see you. Great to see you, Bottled Water. Thank you so much for hopping in. You guys are experiencing great success with the show. And, what I find fascinating is that you really had to, you had to dig in here to do some investigative journalism almost just to track down Brandon and to kind of build what this show has become. Where do you what you mentioned something about Brandon? You said, he had a very specific vision for the show. What was your vision for the show when you first conceived of it?
Well, I mean, the way that I had seen it, and it's veered since because, Prometheus, the way that they did it is, awesome. But I was literally like more of the, okay, I'll confess something here.
Okay.
No one's ever seen. I had a pitch that we did, the first one. I was Travis. So
you were going to play Travis.
I was the Travis part.
Okay.
Because my angle was, I'm a TV guy, right? I'm a TV producer. I look for ideas. I look for stories. I bring a different perspective to an investigation that, there would be than all of the big brain scientists would. And Brandon was cool with it. He was like, this will work. This is great. But I think in order to really make it seem legitimate, you had to have a credentialed PhD. You had to have someone who actually had the chops to do it. And that was fine. Like, and I did it. That wasn't my intention. My intention wasn't to be on it, but it just happened that, hey, as we were all talking about it, and it wasn't just my, brainstorming, we all kind of collectively said it, and it was like, well, TJ should do it. Like, okay, I'll do it. And that, I had experience on camera. I've been around the business forever, so it just kind of fit. And I guess, but for me, it was more like the true, I want to try to bring back, and this is what I hate hearing myself say because I've said it so many times, like bringing back like science and real life to television. Because reality or unscripted is far from it. There's nothing, there's no company in the world, no production or no network that's going to say, hey, I love your idea. Here's a big check for millions of dollars. Go and shoot it. And I really hope you come back with something great. No, they want to know what's going to happen. What investigations are you going to do? Give me an arc. Give me a storyline here. What's happening? There's nobody's going to just give you money and say good luck. And then what are you supposed to do with that? So, so even unscripted stuff is situationally scripted, I would call it. It's the example I use a lot is, in the housewives shows, it's like, okay, so you're having an affair with the person's husband who's behind that door. She's going to come in and confront you. Here's a drink. And then they go to that woman. They're like, she's going to come in and confront you about the affair you're having. Here's a drink and roll. And everyone steps away.
Right.
So basically the idea is that you're providing the kindling and then you kind of just hand them the match and you're just like, okay, and action.
Yeah. Not in this show, but I'm saying like that's unscripted, traditional unscripted for the last 15 years. It's like create the drama, put them all in a room, like, The Bachelor and all these shows, like this forced conflict stuff. So I feel like to try to bring science back is a big, like science back to TV is a big thing in my head. Because I really feel like, there's a long time where, yay, the plastic canopy of America, like the whole idea of like our TV is real, but it's not. So let's make it more real again. And Oak Island kind of opened the door for that. And I think you're starting to see more and more of these types of shows come around where they're, hey, we all have questions about stuff, right? So why not, instead of dismissing them or instead of pretending to look into them, why not really just look into them, see what happens?
Did you ever have any concerns that this was the drama might blow up too much? There's reports of hitchhikers and some of these things have been, pretty malevolent and scary, right?
Yeah, I mean,
any concerns there?
Yeah, I did. I was sick for about 9 months after my first time on the ranch. I got super sick. I was in New York. I lived in New York City at the time. And my wife and I had some kind of crazy respiratory problem. A lot of the stuff that happened to Travis happened to me. From the headaches that, Tom was getting, like their rashes and stuff, just all kinds of random stuff happened. I had an instance where we were digging because you're not supposed to. So we were digging and we had a thing where I just, my heart starts racing. And we all have our monitors and stuff on at this time. And heart starts going through the roof and Eric's like, get out, come here, because I'm in a ditch. And he pulls me out and I'm all just covered and like I'm soaked. My heart rate is just going bananas, get all lightheaded. And I just kind of lay on the ground. And that was the end of that. We're like, okay, TJ, you're done. And we just kept on, you keep on going because, well, that's the show must go on, right? So a lot of the stuff that happened, Travis happened. I had the hitchhiker effect, at least, I guess that's the best way to say it because that's kind of the term we all understand. And again, I don't know what any of this is, right? I'm not claiming it's anything. I know that I was exposed to stuff out there. My doctors in New York had told me, like, we don't know what this is. When I was going through all these tests, they were saying like, and I'd learned, I didn't know this, that there are different types of blood tests that can happen based on your geographic location in the US. So when they take your blood, when they draw blood, they can test for certain things like that would be, in that area in particular. So in the Southwest, so I'm in New York, in Northeast, and she was saying like there could be pathogens or something that they would test for there that we just don't have the ability to test for. And there's a technical term for it. I don't know what it is, but our blood screening process doesn't cover those things. And she's like, well, maybe it is something that's, specific to that area. One doc was throwing out like maybe it is radiation poisoning. Maybe it is, you had some kind of microwave, high pitch resonance. I was hearing sounds and I kept identifying it as old timey music that I kept hearing. And my wife's like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you talking about? Old timey music. And she's like, wake up and I'm like 2:30 in the morning and my head is like on the stairs listening. Like, do you hear that? What is that sound? Never found it, never figured it out. And then like seriously months later, it just stopped.
It's gone.
But yeah, so there's always that worry.
Is that why you haven't been back?
Yeah, I have no desire to go back. I'm all set.
Wow.
All good, man.
Let me ask you this: how often has that happened with the rest of the crew?
So most people, from what I know, right? So I can't speak for anybody, right? And a lot of people are private about stuff. A lot of people don't. Even if it did, I wouldn't feel good saying people have said things. But I can say, generally speaking, it does happen, right? It does happen. There's a good percentage of people that it happens to, but it definitely doesn't happen to everyone. And not everyone's reactions are different. Or, I mean, not everyone's reactions are the same. They're all different. Like some people have ringing, some people head swell up, some people get headaches, like all
swell up.
things.
People swelled up, like
Well,
Thomas Winterden swell.
Yeah. Like, well, no, Thomas that's the example I'm saying. Like,
Okay, got it.
Swelled up. Like people have different reactions. People go catatonic. I mean, like I'm just going by some of the examples that over the time. Mine was specific where I just. And it didn't just happen the first time. It happened the second time, like that I was there as well. I mean, all the stuff that I had seen and witnessed, it was like, I don't know how to describe these things. We're going to get to the bottom of it at some point. I feel like this is why this show is great, because it's going to be people with the resources to study this. As tech is getting so much better, that the stuff is happening around us. And if we're feeling something, if there's some kind of effect, we just need to find the right tool to measure it. And as soon as we determine what those things are, things are going to be revealed. I'm not foreshadowing anything.
Right. Things will be revealed. Matthew Wright, $4.99 donation, says, any sightings of cryptid DC muscle wolf on the ranch during filming?
Oh, man.
Not that I'm aware of. I can tell you that I saw something specific that I can only describe as the wraiths in Lord of the Rings. I saw something that was it was nuts. One of the cameras caught it. One of Eric's cameras caught it, and it looked like a potato sack blowing in the wind, 30 feet in the air, with a really long tail, like a really long, like cape-looking thing that just kind of went behind trees and was gone. And this was I'm talking 2017, when we were filming. And I mean,
so you were on set at the time when this happened?
So the show, the development part of it was a good year plus before it even got the green light, like before it even went to the network. Like, so Joel and I had gone multiple times to shoot. We'd hire crew to come out, not the same crew that's out there now, but you'd bring out crew. We had drones go down. I had a DJI drone, like thing freaking fell out of the sky, literally, like just shutting it off in mid-flight. It hits the ground. 30 seconds later, the camera just starts going, and nothing else. You couldn't control it, nothing. And then dead. Bring out more batteries, same thing, boom. It's like, okay, no more drone shots. So equipment goes down all the time there.
TJ, what the hell is going on at Skinwalker Ranch?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I feel like there's such an opportunity. I'm trying to think. I know Gold Rush does this, where they have like these after shows where they interview the cast and they interview maybe some crew members. I feel like there's a great opportunity to make like a bonus episode or even a series, like an online part where they just follow the crew. Like what the crew is experiencing, like, because this has got to be a pain in the ass when they go out there with this expensive equipment and it's not working.
I mean, it is a pain in the ass. It's a real thing. And I did, for the first season, I did the Skinwalker Debrief, the podcast, where every week after the show, I brought on one of the cast members. And I did it with Jason McCullen and Maureen Ellsbury.
Yeah. I listened
because I love those guys. Those guys were great. And they were my first entrance into this whole world. Like, I found that, this was way before you guys, right? They were like my trusted sources. And so I kind of, helped me navigate through a lot of the personalities in the UFO Twitter world, I should say. So thanks guys.
Yeah.
So we brought them, and we did an after show after every episode in season 1, with the hopes of kind of pushing it forward to like, hey, can we get this? Can this be a proof of concept? Can we try to work this out? Network wasn't interested in it. I got a feeling that
the History Channel wasn't interested in it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct,
at the time.
yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't want to step on, Brandon's very protective of the brand Skinwalker Ranch, which is why I even said, hey, we'll call it Skinwalker Debrief, because after talking with him, it's like you don't want to dilute anything, right? You want people to know that this is the legit thing, and that's why I get a little frustrated when I see people using that online, and it's like, well, no, that's not really part of it. So, but anyway,
using what online?
Like the name Skinwalker Ranch, and like you see podcasts and things come up, and it's kind of like
we're guilty of that.
No, but
straight up, we're guilty of that. Yeah, I mean, like it's the way I sort of saw it was like I love review shows. Like anytime I watch a movie or anytime I play or before I buy a video game, I'll watch a couple of reviews of it, and they'll say, okay, like, Call of Duty review. And so that's like what we did. Yeah, but I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's just my opinion, right? And I know that, and out of respect,
we apologize.
Partner, no,
I'm kidding. I know you don't care. I'm just busting your chops.
No, I know. I think that at the time, like, this is all new for the, like, this whole finally pushing this to the forefront, and you don't want to do anything to kind of hurt any of that. So I think in the future, I think you're going to see that. I think they'll find a way to kind of do that. I wouldn't be hosting it. They'll pull somebody that's part of their stable. Maybe it's William Shatner. Who knows? So I think it's a great idea, though, Lou. I mean, I agree with you. I think there's a huge opportunity there to do something. So you'll see. Powers that be may want to do it. Fingers crossed. But anyway, the whole experience has been great. Like the whole, getting to Thomas from I can tell you this, the Thomas Winterton. The way I got to Thomas was there was I'm gonna butcher the specifics of the story, but I'll give you the general overview of that. There was something in the town. One of the neighbors complained about a road being blocked leading up to the ranch, and it was causing some kind of problems, and so they took it to court. And Thomas acted as the proxy in court for adamantium, and his name, I found it in a court document. Like, I literally had to dig and dig. I find this, like, okay, here's the record of adamantium in the court thing, and who's the guy representing? Thomas Winterton. And he kept telling me for 6 months, I'm just a janitor here, man. There's nothing going on here. I'm just a janitor. He was telling me.
And he's representing them in court?
Yeah, not representing them like a lawyer, but somebody had to appear in the town. It's a small town, right? I think it's one of those courts that happen in in someone's backyard kind of thing.
Got it.
And so he was the guy on record, and so that was kind of a little crack in the door that kind of got me into finding out who was behind the curtain. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Thomas Winterton was part of the original crew before the show. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they
probably mentioned that.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that. Yeah, like he had worked on the ranch for a couple of years, because that whole swelling up of his head happened before they started filming, right? Was that how? Do you know how soon before you guys started filming the experiences?
It must have been probably 2 years, year and a half, 2 years before I even had encountered him. So it was a while. I mean,
yeah.
And I really am leaning toward that's the Havana syndrome. I really think that. I mean, it was just in the news again the other day.
Yeah.
So there's some, right? Is that right? Or am I?
Yeah. A couple days ago, nightly news, maybe yesterday.
Yeah. So there's
something going on. You guys could figure that out. That'd be huge for the nation, right? Huge for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, what is that? Why?
They finally gave permission to people who were affected by it to talk about it publicly, I guess is what happened. So.
Oh, the original people in Havana who experienced it? Or
I can't remember. They were diplomats, a bunch of Canadians and some Americans, and I can't remember which area they were in, but they were a lot of people who were living in the same area, mostly adults, but there were children there too. And like some people have recovered from it, and some people have like permanent like disabilities.
And I know they retracted their original hypothesis that it was just really loud crickets. So that's no longer on the table.
The cricket hypothesis is off the table.
That's what they were saying people were going through?
Yeah.
That was one of the...
I did not hear that.
That was one of the leading hypotheses.
That is crazy. So a couple thousand people come into the hospitals or doctors' offices, and they're complaining they're feeling ill, and they're hearing something, and the big hypothesis is, yeah, it's really loud crickets. I mean, what?
Crickets are annoying. They can drive you insane.
The woman was saying it was like a piercing, intolerable noise, like a noise you couldn't just ignore.
Right, not like old timey music.
Not like old timey music.
No.
Yeah.
I get that auditory stuff too, but the channel changes. Sometimes I get like sportscasting way in the background. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they do say that the Havana syndrome affected everyone differently, and that it did hear different things. So the hearing old timey music, might fit.
Listen, I'll be the first to say this. It could all have been psychosomatic for all I know, right? I am not saying that it was like I could have been convinced that everyone else was having this thing, and maybe that's what I'm having. Maybe it was tinnitus or something, or my ears are ringing, and I was putting a sound to it, or putting a tone to it. I'm the first one to say that. Like, I don't know what it is. I have theories, like everybody has theories, but it's I don't know. But we will figure it out. And we're all going on the journey. And this was one of the first things I told Brandon was, listen, man, there would be so many people. You don't understand what a service this would be. There's a huge community of people who would absolutely love to go to study this and go on this journey, but they don't have the means. You have the means, and they get to watch it and experience it with you. And
Right.
and he understood. He was like, yes, but he wants to share this experience with people. Like, look, if I can help, do something and push this forward, then everyone should come along. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. So anyone who says otherwise is kind of nonsense.
Well, I mean, when he was on the show, we kind of pressed him pretty hard. We're like, especially about the data. Like, that's, I think, his biggest critique is that there's, now is it 3 seasons, 2 seasons?
We're
Going into 3.
We're going.
We can't say that.
They're working on it. We're still working on it. We're still working.
That would be the logical
There
progression.
are
Fingers crossed going into 3.
These guys are posting stuff that people are all out at the ranch. I mean, that's not there's just certain things you don't say.
Right. No, for sure.
It's not a secret that people are at the ranch with cameras.
Yeah, and the studio, I'm sure, is going to. They want to be the ones who announce it. Obviously, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I should have known when the dragon stopped taking my calls.
Did the dragon stop taking your calls?
No, I'm just teasing.
Well, he did go dark.
Well, we used to chat a lot. We used to chat a lot, and like I reached out to him a couple times and just crickets. But I'm sure he's busy.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Go ahead, TJ. You would know way more than me.
Yes, they're all. The guys are busy. And if you go on Instagram, Caleb and Travis are posting their workout videos.
Dude, these guys are going to be so ripped for season 3.
This, right?
Yeah, Caleb with the broken phone and Travis have been working out, doing like Rocky 5 workouts with like logs and just really rustic shit. You're like, what the hell's going on with these guys?
Rolling tractor tires around.
They've been possessed by workout demons. Yeah.
And then Travis got his accent and he's like, yeah, this is a Skinwalker crawl.
Skinwalker
And he'll put like a tire, like a 700-pound tire. And he's like, I only did a quarter mile. Caleb did 2 miles with it. I'm like, what? And it's all CrossFit stuff, man. They do these walks and this whole. It's crazy.
They're going to be looking so damn good for season 3. It's insane. They're going to be, they already look, they're good looking dudes.
Yeah.
They're pretty strapping, but they're going to be absolutely jacked. And people are going to go, oh, but damn, HGH is now on the ranch. No, these guys are doing like hardcore rustic workouts. I'm telling you, it's hilarious.
But there's no secret. It's still going on. Yeah, stuff is happening out there.
Ooh, man. Okay. Well,
I cut off your train of thought. I'm sorry. You were.
No. Well, I was talking about Brandon. Oh yeah. So when we pushed him on the data, that's sort of like the thing that his biggest critique is. We've got now going into season 3 almost, and we don't have anywhere where they've put the data on a website that can be open sourced and looked at. And he's in short was basically like, well, I don't have to do that. Like it's my data, it's my ranch, it's everything belongs to me. And I'm already producing a show. I'm giving you guys books. I'm giving you guys access that no one has ever had to this ranch. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but you're a billionaire. Just get a data guy to put the data on the website and just feed a little bit of that appetite, because I think people want to help. Really,
Yes,
more than anything, people just want to look at the data. And I think if it's an open source thing where it could be like a murder board where things can get shot down, or things can get maybe even propelled because the people have helped you sift through all this data, and it saves time, it saves money, because people are going to do it for free. And you know how the internet goes once you put stuff like that out there. But he's not afraid to sort of tell you where to go, and I get that. He's a billionaire. The guy makes decisions, and it's like you get that vibe from him. You ever been in a room with somebody where you're just like, oh, I'm not an alpha?
He's not listening to anything. He's waiting for me to stop moving my mouth with sound so he can say what he wants to say.
Or not even that. He kind of just oozes it out of himself, and it kind of just seeps into your pores, or you're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to fight this because I'm going to get torn apart. Because he's got all the data. He's got all the money. He's got all the power.
Speaking of that, real quick, we had a super chat that came in actually a couple days ago when I first posted this. And this was a question for TJ. It said, and this is in relationship to what you guys are talking about. It says, where are the academic papers on Skinwalker? Mick West asked Brandon Fugal for the data 1 year ago and was promised it within days. I asked Brandon 2 months ago for the academic studies and was told soon. Do you have any insight on that?
I know that it's coming. I know that stuff is work. It is in the works. It's been in talks for a while. I think that I'm trying to say this like as diplomatic as possible. I think it's being worked. It's in process. It's always talked about. It's been from the very, very beginning, from the onset of the project. And I think everyone just has to be patient, right?
They're making it look nice.
Yeah, it's not just, there you go.
Well,
there's a process that has to happen. You have to. There's a number of open source different hosting platforms that will host this. That already host scientific databases of this information where people can pull stuff from. There has to be a back end put in place, and it sounds like, oh, back end put in place. There's a lot more to it than we would think. And the guy, and to his, and I jumped into a Twitter spat with some people that were kind of saying nonsense. Brandon, it costs him money to make this. People think that he's making a ton. Like, you don't understand what the budgets for the show are pretty damn big, and the network isn't ready to spend that much until it continues to perform, and it has to perform season over season over season. So he spends money, and this to him is a loss leader in all of his businesses. We might look at it like, oh my God, but he's a businessman. There are people who are just looking at bottom lines, like, you know what, I'm losing money in this column. Why am I going to do this? How much longer am I going to do this? This is not a good decision.
Production costs are coming out of his pocket?
It's not production like you're thinking, actual production costs of camera guys. He has property, he has helicopter, he has vehicles, he has the amount of money that costs. Helicopter costs tens of thousands to put it in the air on a regular basis.
Right, but nobody's telling him to take a helicopter to the ranch.
It was part of the last episode, right? So if you're using the helicopter in the episode,
no, for sure, no. In that instance, 100%. And I understand what you're saying, and I absolutely agree with you. And this is something we talked about with him as well. It's like, hey, I understand that you bought that ranch knowing you're going to lose money. Because he's a businessman. He buys property to make money, not lose money. And in this instance, he's not putting a hotel or a park or some sort of resort on this. He is keeping it as is. He's bought this because he is purely interested, not because he wants to make money off of it. So from that aspect, for sure. But when we talk about the TV show, I just want to make clear that he's not paying for production costs, like to produce the show. The cost of running his ranch, giving you guys access, putting gas in the vehicles, allowing people to come on, having security on the ranch as all this shit's going down, making sure NDAs get signed, things like that, for sure. All of that stuff costs money. It's time. And when he's at the show, I'm sure he's losing money.
Right.
So
his time.
I totally get that.
Yeah. I mean, it's an investment for him. And hopefully at one point, it'll turn a profit for him and release and reveal some great stuff for everyone who's interested in this. But I think it's, you just have to look at it like, there you see some people get interested in art and some in, whatever, cars or whatever. This is his interest.
Yeah.
We look at this like, and this is, speaking of like how big his heart was on the whole thing, like this was literally, Brandon, you got to people would absolutely love this. And what I find though is, even though this is happening, it's like, give me more. I want more.
Right.
You're a billionaire.
We're so spoiled.
Well, okay, so
It's
I
like-
have to take some responsibility for that on my end, because I have been the guy when they first introduced the Skinwalker Ranch to me and they said, "Have you seen this show yet? And we're going to review it." I said, "No." And like, to me it was a joke, and like, I'm just being honest. Like, to me I thought it was hilarious, and I was being I don't know if you ever caught any of our review show episodes, TJ, but we weren't always as nice as we could have been. And I apologize for that. But we've always been about the, taking this back to like, where's the science leading? Like, that's all, for entertainment, it's great. But like, is this science going to lead us somewhere? And so I understand when people say, where is the science? Give us more, give us more, give us more. But at the end of the day, like, there's only so much any of us should expect, and so we got some fun content out of it. But at the same time, like, I'm not trying to, I don't want to be a dick about it either. And I want to respect, the time, energy, passion you guys put into it, because it's a lot. And so that's my apology.
No, listen, one of the funniest things on Twitter is skin talkers, right? These guys that they just break chops. They literally just break chops. And it's like, lean into that stuff. Like, this is entertainment.
Yes.
So this is this is what you have to do. And this is why I approach this in an entirely different way. Like, I'm completely biased when it comes to, like, we were talking about the fringe and just this fringe element of stuff, right? So for me, the science of the unknown, what I really think that if you kind of, you have to embrace all of this, right? Any talk is good talk around these topics, and it's entertainment. And so my bias is I look for, in going forward into other projects and stuff, I look for things that I think are going to be entertaining and worthwhile. Obviously, yes, I want to know data. I want the truth, the quote unquote truth. I want to see evidence, but I don't look at it with a lens of, is this real, not real? Doesn't matter. Let's study it and find out if it is. If the study of it is interesting, then that's what I'm interested in. And so I look at things in a different way than a lot of people that are in the community, like in a hardcore way, like looking for evidence in this. And I want to find people that are doing the research and actually looking. And this show is great. And I mentioned this earlier, Michael, like the idea of what's next. We were saying we could talk about like what's coming next down the pipe, at least in my head. And it's Skinwalker. We're looking at this is the quest for the data, right? The quest of what's going on. And I think that we've kind of tapped out, or we've gotten to almost a saturation point where all of these shows that are trying to look for things. How about now the next step is you need more tangible things to look at. And I think that you're going to see the evolution of these quest type shows. And I'm saying this because of, where I'm going with stuff. The evolution is
the things that you're probably pitching.
Yeah, exactly. So my pitches are now all about things. What's the next, like, what is this? There's the guys like online, like, I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but
no, we got plenty of time. So if you're cool with hanging out with us for a little longer, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. Because I really feel like, I like getting this word out there because I want people to, like I was saying, think around the box, right? It's not always about, thinking like, oh, what about, something non sequitur related, blah, 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 in Afghanistan or something. Like, no, think of something that's like happening in what we know in the US, because production costs are too expensive to travel internationally. What are all of these big mysteries and all these big, things that people are looking for? Like Oak Island's a great one. We did Letterkenny. We did a show that was on Beyond Oak Island about the Montezuma's treasure, and we were on the season finale of Beyond Oak Island in that episode. So, in a very similar vein to Brandon, there was a guy who bought this land that Montezuma's treasure supposedly buried on. And we put it was on Beyond Oak Island. We aired it in January, and we brought the same GPR guys that were at Skinwalker, brought them out there. And sure enough, man, there is something that looks like there's a right where it's supposed to be, but no one ever looked underground. And so that's another very wealthy individual bought the land not knowing, though. He had no idea that this was even a rumor. Joel, my partner, to his credit, he tracked this dude down, just like I did with Brandon. He found this guy. And so that's the kind of stuff where you know that there's something there. There's legend lore behind it. Just trying to find the people, though. The way TV's working now is nobody wants to create TV. They want to be a fly on a wall. The network wants, that's why Skinwalker works so well, because with or without a TV show, Brandon was doing this.
Yeah.
We just happened to, networks like, wait, this is happening. We're just going to put cameras and okay, great. And go. So that's the situations you look for. So people that are actually actively looking for things and doing it. Not people that just want to do it for a TV show. People that are out there doing it. And that's kind of where my head has been. For new ideas.
Yeah, that's huge, and I want to continue digging deeper into that. But quickly, I want to hit a couple of these comments. So, Earthverse Uranus says, "Are you doing viewer call in the last 10 minutes? If you guys want to call in and ask TJ a question, absolutely. We can do that in a little bit. And then I had what's that?
I can stick around for a while. So,
you're the man.
Excellent.
Okay, fantastic. Sonic Gravity says, TJ, next time you do something over there, if you see a white ball tic-tac at night, please take a spectrometer reading and see if it matches daylight. Okay.
That's a specific request.
This is Brad. This is our local. This is Bradley Voorhees. He's our local citizen physicist scientist who's he's very intense and we love him. So we'll hopefully TJ can pass on. TJ has not been out to the ranch in a while, but
I don't think he's going back out there. Yeah.
No, I don't think he's going back.
I'm all set.
I'll give it that. Need some CrossFit.
Your face when you say that, it is priceless, man. It feels like you're scared. You're like, yeah, I'm good. It feels like you went through something and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. I'm good. I had to taste that ice cream.
I'm pretty sure the AI lie detector would say you're telling the truth there.
Yeah. I have no reason to make whatever. You guys have seen everything that's happened, right? I'm not making things up to just be, huge. This is my experience.
Right.
I don't know. I don't need to go and put myself in a situation where, I can hurt myself. I'm too old for that. I have family. There's real costs to this. It's not a joke. I get frustrated when I see that stuff. It bothers me to see people say, "Oh, this is all." No, it's not.
Well, that's the weird thing because we have an open invite to go follow up on a dude who does CE5, and I told Kristen about it. She's like, "You are not going." And I was like, honey, come on. this is just an opportunity for us to go hang out. She's like, what if something follows you back? I have nightmares. She goes, I have nightmares about aliens looking in the window.
Wow, we've never discovered this, Kristen. I'm kind of interested now.
I don't like stuff. That's the reason I put up with stupid cats living in my house. I figure the cats can see them.
Okay. Good logic as any. I mean, no, it's true. Any logical explanation for what you're doing is good because we don't know anything. Right. We have no clue.
We don't know shit. And that's one of the things I always bring up in this show. It's we don't know. And people get honest. They're like, if you've been studying ufology for the last 30 years, you'd know this is. I'm like, I don't. I haven't.
I have a question about that. So
yeah.
If you study ufology for the last 30 years, you know X, Y, and Z. Really? So how many UFOs have you studied? Have you actually physically seen one and touched it? I've had this argument with Bigfoot, which, by the way, the plural of Bigfoot it's not big feet, it's Bigfoots.
Bigfoots, right.
So and talking I'm looking for show ideas, right? It's when I hear experts in certain air quotes for those who are just listening, I'm doing air quotes when I say experts in certain fields. The reason I kind of get frustrated with that is when they tell me things like, well, a Bigfoot can live to be 210. Oh, really? And you know that because why? Have you seen a corpse? Have you studied one? Did you do an autopsy? Did you go to their birthday? How do you know this? So when people say these definitive things about stuff, none of us know, because if we did, we wouldn't even be talking about this here. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know. And you know, again, I know nothing. Thank you so much, Vince, for the $4.99 dono. Thank you so much, NMUAP. You may not have always been nice, Mike, but you're always honest. I appreciate that. We try to be. But also, you know, the other thing that we try to bring to the show is like, again, we don't know. We're always looking for better data to get more answers, and we're always trying to figure things out. And we're being, you know, again, at the end of the day, when you don't know, you got to be humble. And so, if we're admitting we don't know, we are humble. So, TJ, so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, no, I had a question about, because you're never going back there. That's clear as day. But I am curious, do you know the process of cameramen, sound people, drone operators, the crew?
Mhm.
Are they given like, all right, sit down in this chair and let me explain where you're going before you say yes? Like, are they aware of the ranch and the history and all of this before they go onto it and just start, you know, using their camera? Or, and, you know, are they aware that things could come back home with them and they might not feel good? And do they get a bump and pay for that, Hazard?
No, there's not. Okay, so from what I know, right, and what I can share, it's everyone signs a document when they go onto the ranch, no understanding that they can be hurt and that no one is liable for that. Like, you are taking your life in your hand. Like, you literally have to sign a document, like indemnification. Nothing can happen. There's no recourse at all.
Do they do that with every show on TV?
No, not that.
Like, in other words, like,
no, I've never seen
that.
Okay. If you're working on, if you're on a fishing rig in Alaska, yes,
right.
You know, there's certain liabilities, and then that would be hazard pay. You know, it's very difficult. If you could try to look into it to find, air quotes, paranormal insurance, to find insurance to cover paranormal, it's very hard. There are companies out there that will do it.
Wow.
But it's not something that is kind of looked at in a serious way. You just have to look at it. You know, another great example of that is I've had this thing where I've been tracking down, because again, I want tangible things, and so I've been calling police departments all over the country, trying to find. I have yet to find one where they have a protocol. Nope. I'm sorry. Let me step back. No police departments that I have spoken to have a protocol for dealing with anything in the quote unquote paranormal area. So if somebody calls and says, I have a ghost in my house, or I have this, or my chair is levitating in my kitchen, and they call the police, I said, what do you guys do? Nobody has been able to tell me. And I find that really strange, because you should, even if it's not common, it is plausible. And so the thing they all default to is they do a wellness check, they say.
Right.
So they'll drive by the house and do a wellness check. Well, and you have to lose that stigma of a wellness check if you're going to advance the idea that there are things we don't know. If somebody, like, just because I said that I heard a bump or something fell in my attic or whatever, it doesn't mean I'm not well. Something, you know, like that, you can't equate the two. Like, maybe there is something going on here. People, there are stories of people, you know, doing crazy stuff and blaming ghosts and skinwalkers. And
well, also, like, what if you do a wellness check and you know, you knock on the door, is everything okay? Are you well? No, I'm not well. There's a goddamn chair floating in my kitchen. Like, no, I'm not well.
Hey, what do you do?
Okay,
right?
Come with us, sir. You know,
yeah, right? Can I see your hand, please? Like, what do you do, right? There is no process for any of it, at least that I have found. And if people know, and this is why I really wanted the opportunity to like talk with you guys about other things like this, because I'm the first one to say there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Maybe there are protocols that certain, you know, police departments or certain places all over the country that do this stuff. I have not found one. And you guys have heard too, I'm sure, you know, there's the Skinwalker defense case. You remember, like, I mean, if you look into the history of Skinwalker, there was a murder that had happened, and the guy got off because he claimed that he was a Skinwalker. The judge, like, this is in the area, in the Nita Basin. This was, God, I want to say at least 70 years. It has to be 70 years or something like this. There was a case where I want to say it was a husband killed the wife. I may be butchering it, but if someone, you know, I wish we had
no pun intended.
Right?
Yeah.
I wish we had someone that could go, in fact, like, look it up right now and Google this, because there is a case that this had happened, and it's the only one that I was able to find where someone used the idea of being possessed or being a skinwalker in a defense, and it worked. Yeah, it had to do. There was some kind of religious exemption made because I think they were part of the Navajo tribe. So there's a lot to that story that I'm just.
If
not.
somebody could look that up in the chat, that would be awesome.
I bet Tina Tomaszewski could probably find it. I bet. I'm curious to know after that story. Well, who else in the Uinta Basin killed their wife and went, "Yeah, I'm a skinwalker." Like, I'm a skinwalker. That guy claimed that defense in 1953. I'm a skinwalker when I killed my wife. Like, has anybody else tried to use that line in getting off of a first degree murder?
I mean, I don't know. I just like from the research that I'd done, like that was the one thing that always stuck up. Like kind of like, wow, that's a real thing. And so that's why I'm like, okay, if that's real, I don't
Sounds
believe
like a
that
great
it's
movie,
right?
Yeah,
like
Amityville Horror.
And I've tried getting to that house too, man. That's another one. So Amityville Horror, like that. There's a whole. Oh, that's another one of those investigative nightmares that like they've changed the address. They petitioned the city to change the street address of the place,
wow.
and it's like all of this nonsense. So to stop looky-loo, people from coming by to see the place. The current owner, I'm not going to go into who it is or whatever, but I had to write handwritten letters to send to their office because they wouldn't respond to calls, direct mail, nothing. To try to see about like potentially, doing something.
You gotta embrace that stuff, man. Like just let the looky-loo charge ticket price. G West says, does the crew from Skinwalker look at the crew of Oak Island and think, geez, those guys have it good?
Probably.
Okay, here's a question I do have about the Oak Island. Maybe you can answer. Those guys are clearly paying for all of their own construction. Again, you're trying to find these situations where guys are going to be doing what they're doing no matter what, whether there's TV crew there or not. And those Lagina brothers seem like they'd be doing that no matter what. In the 10 years that they've been doing this show, have they gotten to a point where the show is paying for some of these construction costs?
Yeah, that show is just a juggernaut, man.
Wow.
From what I know of it, and a lot of it is public, just like the budgets of that show. I mean, they're just astronomical. Those guys are. That's a big one. That's a big fish. That's the number one show on cable. I mean, I think by far. Even
wow.
Not that that's saying a lot compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's another thing to eventually pivot to, where it's how everything's changing, and that's why I love what you guys have done with this. And I still think Drunk UFO History would be the best show ever.
So it's funny you mentioned that.
Stephen Greenstreet just hit me up privately about it. Yeah.
Tell him specifically, but it relates to Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, he actually wanted to read the new Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. Literally read from the book as inebriated. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I told him I just wrote back to him. I'm in.
Do it.
And I'm waiting for him to give
time and place. And are we drinking whiskey or scotch?
Get a sponsor. Get a scotch sponsor or a whiskey sponsor to sponsor the show.
Crystal Skull vodka.
This is how it works.
Yeah, stealing that drunk history formula and applying it to this would be gold.
It would be gold. We'll get a lot of hate. I tell you that. There will be a lot of people that say you're not taking ufology seriously. We will. It's fine. I mean, it's okay. I'm not going to do it.
Look at what drunk history does. They take very
serious,
racial, like dividing stories in American history and make it hilarious. They fill in the dialogue of these people, and then they're reenacted by famous actors, or just literally lip syncing to it. And it's
that was not my idea, by the way. That was from Twitter. I wish I knew that one's name. I don't have her. I can see her avatar. Somebody recommended it.
Many ideas are thrown around on Twitter.
I know.
It's a haven for great ideas. I'll be honest with you.
Bottled water for $20 says, I see you have ghosts. Have you tried bottled water? And for the record, I will not go to Skinwalker Ranch ever, TJ.
I think if you're talking to me about the ghost thing, this is okay. I'm going to say this is super weird. I may not be the only one, but it looks like behind me, like white halo things keep on going back and forth. If that's what he's talking about, and I don't know what that is. If that's true, it could be my light. I don't know.
It's ghosts. It's got to be ghosts.
Hitchhikers.
No.
Hitchhikers. Well, I'm telling you. You know, so
Sometimes I'll get like a little fly or mosquito or something that flies through, and when I watch it back on replays when I see them, but I don't see them when I'm filming live.
okay.
I think LSD UFO history would be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Good luck. I mean, that would take 4 days to film one episode.
Dan Miller says he would pay money to see drunk UFO history. I think this is not a bad idea, you guys. I think we need to embrace this.
I agree. And this is why, like, I think you guys, this is a great platform, and this is where, you know, entertainment is going. The biggest issue I have right now with this kind of DIY production and doing it on your own is that that we're beholden to the platform, like YouTube, and that's a problem. Because as soon as, you know, I should have made this T-shirt like 20 years ago, and I had to, you know, whoever controls your pipeline controls your world, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they decide that you're no longer, I mean, we see this playing out in all different forms in our life today, where the censorship happens and the throttling and things like that. I just don't understand why we haven't, like, the decentralization of distribution of content. It has to be the next thing, but it's just cost prohibitive right now. The streaming services, you know, I think that what you're seeing now with, you know, we're all in YouTube, right? It's a great format, but they're just censoring the crap out of stuff. And if they decide that you're not going to be there anymore, then you're not going to be there anymore.
You're done.
And you're done. You're completely done. And there's other platforms, but the business model is the same. You know, centralize you know, put everyone under one roof, and then mass sell advertisement to all of these people.
Yeah, but even though there are platforms with the same thing, like if we were demonetized tomorrow and then we went over to a Vimeo or something, we'd bring maybe 1/10 of our audience. Like, people are so conditioned to go where they go. Like, I don't, like, if somebody I see on YouTube is over on Vimeo and they left YouTube because they're like, F this, I'm just like, cool. Like, I open up YouTube because it's like, you know, it's just what I do. And people are so conditioned and ingrained to do that. You mentioned something on Twitter. Like, I remember this, TJ, a while back when we first started communicating, and you said something about the future of media is all about distribution. It's all about distribution. That's the biggest challenge right now, is like, people, it's very hard to caravan an audience from one place to another.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the infrastructure of the distribution that's a bigger player. And I think we're watching right now the beginning steps of the next internet. And I don't mean the evolution of the current internet. I mean the next that's going to run parallel. So it's a concept that I think you get a lot of pushback on, because people don't think that it can happen. But there's, in no world has anyone ever built an infrastructure where they didn't control or have a piece of what was going on in that infrastructure. If you look at, like, the Bell, you know, Ma Bell, when they laid all the telephone wires, right? Government had to come in, break it up to regulate. Enron, we saw Enron was trying to use laying dark fiber all over the country in order to sell bandwidth as a natural resource, right? And kind of price it differently as demand required. What we're seeing right now, you think that we have this billionaire space race, but these same billionaires have also both started to build non-terrestrial infrastructure for internet. So what's to say, like, if you see that, remember when Howard Stern jumped from terrestrial radio to satellite to get rid of all the regulations? Well, we now have 2 billionaires who are putting literally thousands of satellites in space. Is it to use somebody else's product? Maybe in the beginning to test it. But I got a feeling that pretty soon you're going to see, instead of like www, you're going to see like elon.snickers.com. You know, instead of www.snickers, you're going to see like bezos.snickers.com. Because what I just boggles my mind, like, Zuckerberg conned everyone, because he convinced everyone, said, you know what, don't use the infrastructure, the internet backbone. I want you to use that to go to my internet. Instead of snickers.com, go to facebook.com/Snickers. So he took all of the traffic that was built onto a network and said, you know what, now I'm going to give you a smaller piece. And now he's just put, instead of the infrastructure, he just created software on top of it. So now people are like, okay, that's a great idea. How about we just spend more money, do the infrastructure first, and then just put it all on that. And I think that's where you're going to see the next form of its distribution. And you're going to see this huge divide. Like, which internet are you on? 1, 2, or 3? You know, it's going to be a mess, but I feel like it's coming.
Do you think that it will be right? I mean, obviously, Facebook is getting in a lot of trouble these days. You know, Congress is looking hard at them. Do you think that they can continue to get away with what they're doing, or do you see that that the government is actually going to start to try to break some of this up? I don't see it happening, because right now these guys they do have a ton of power, but like I don't see any interest in antitrust litigation against these guys.
No, they're all on the same team, and it's not ours. Like, I need people to understand. People need to understand that. Like, this is all for show. If there's nobody going to regulate Facebook, like to an extent that's going to hurt it, or hurt one side of the political aisle or the other. It's just not going to happen, because they're all in this together. The only thing that's going to happen is when people start the decentralization of everything has to happen. Just like, think of the 80s, right? Everything is a cycle. When you think of malls, when malls were built, there used to be stores all over your city. And all of a sudden, somebody built a mall and said, hey, put all your stores under my mall, under my roof. So that worked for a while. And then what happened was people are like, oh, I don't like the control of the mall. They control the rent. They jack the rent up. I don't get the service I need. I'm going to go build my own. It's cheaper because land's cheap. Everyone left the malls and they went out and built their different ones. And then Walmart said, hey, how about I just offer all the products under one store? And then they did that. And then, hey, Lowe's said, I'm going to offer all home working products under one store. And so you're just seeing these cycles play out over and over. And I think it's happening in distribution right now. So,
right.
And just my thoughts.
Yeah, no. That's valuable. I think it's you're somebody who's in the industry, so you have your kind of finger on the heartbeat. I'm curious what it looks like. I mean, people are famously bad at futurism, right? Like this idea, like this whole show is about futurism, but like we know it's bad. Like nobody can predict the future, but you can understand the past and catch some glimmers, and the future doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? And so you can have an understanding based on what's happened in the past, where we're headed. But I think it's so fascinating, because like how do we get to the point where individuals are not sucked into these huge platforms? Like how on earth could we get away from these big conglomerates? I'm just having a hard time seeing it.
I love that you're thinking this, and I think a lot of people are. And I was listening to a Twitter space, I think, with Eric Weinstein talking about this. He's like, where's the billionaire class? And you see like people like Brandon who have the means and are doing these things on their own. Like I said, Brandon was going to do this regardless, and whether history was going to do a show or not. And there are others, and it's just a matter of them, finding them, getting them out of the shadows to, not necessarily kicking and screaming, but a lot of these people still want to maintain some kind of privacy with what they're doing. But where are those that are the billionaire class that's very vocal, that has the, for lack of a better term, like the FU money, like they don't care. It's like, what are you going to do to me? There's no repercussions because I'm a billionaire. It doesn't matter. So I think that there's going to have to be some kind of incentive for them to kind of step in and throw their hat in the ring, because as of right now, I think everyone is so scared to do anything for fear of retribution, for fear of being canceled, for fear of whatever, being branded in any way, shape, or form, that unless you have the means to say, that doesn't affect me, it doesn't matter, you're not going to do it. And the bigger part of all of this that I it's really eye-opening when you think of it. When you think of the global population, the United States makes up about 4%. That's it. So all these problems we have, all this nonsense that we argue about, we're 4% of the world. That's it. Like, it's just like, it's not even, are you serious?
But how much does that 4% control the rest of the world?
We do
influence.
Influence, yeah.
But do we? Right? So there are 2 billion people in China who couldn't care any less about cable TV in America, who couldn't care any less about any of this. Like, there's 1 billion people in India. There's 350 million here. Do you think any of the people in India, like, we think of ourselves as this big grand thing? It's like the rest they have TV, they have programming. Their stars are way bigger in their worlds than ours. Like, there's probably fans there that have 300 million fans. Famous people that have 300 million fans. Our population is 300 million.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the scale, and it's just, we're so, this isn't like not being geopolitical. I'm just saying the scope of when you talk about distribution and
distribution.
content,
Yeah.
It's
no, that makes sense.
This is where my head is at. It's just the scale is just it's different.
It's a different. It's Matt. Yeah, that's fascinating. Bottled Water says TJ was it was me. You were talking drunk UFO history about. I made that tweet. I think he was talking. Oh, the ghost tweet. I think drunk UFO history.
I was going to say the cool thing that I sort of like about the show that we've started here, and I think this day is coming, is that when the information on, say, a Skinwalker Ranch or the UAP TF Task Force or UFOs comes to light in a big way, they're first going to go to CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox News, and they're just not going to have anyone on those platforms that can fill an hour and a half or 2 hours intelligently and give you some facts and analytics about what might be going on right now. Whereas our show, hey, by this point, we'll have been talking about it for 3 or 4 years, possibly. And we're in the perfect position to catch all of those people with much bigger curiosities than just a 2 or 3 minute sound clip. And we'll be there to soak up all of this curiosity and other channels like this, that speak to this topic in a very intelligent way. And the cool thing about today is, like you said, I've created a network, with a streaming service.
Yes.
Like, it's wild. Like we're doing shows 5 days a week between 2 channels.
I love
and
it.
it's like, that was unfathomable 5 years ago. And now we're doing it today. So it gives me a lot of hope, but it also does terrify me that if this does become a place where people choose to go to first, as opposed to a Fox, CBS, ABC, YouTube could say tomorrow, you're out.
Right.
Like we're cutting it. And what would we do?
There's nothing you could do.
I would hope that some advertiser or some other media conglomerate would look at it and go, oh, that's valuable. Let's pick it up and nurture it somewhere else.
That's what we call TJ and be like, bro, you got to bail us out, man.
Get us some of that Prometheus money, baby.
No, those guys. No, this is something that's. I love that you're bringing this up. Seriously, like, so what you've done, and this is why I was saying, do drunk UFO history. Take great shows that do well, or great concepts of shows that do well in other topics, and apply them to this topic, and do 24-hour broadcasting of shows around this topic, right? You can go way out to experiencers. You can go into a hardcore
history.
You could do historical stuff. You can do hard evidence stuff. There's so many different avenues you can go with. So, but I think that this is something I've been looking for years, right? The idea of, when I was just going on the population scale. The reason this fascinates me is because there are probably, statistically speaking, there's about 6 people like me in China. There's 6 of each of you in China, with our level of interest most likely in this. If you just do straight stats, right? Even let's just say 5 of us, of each of us. So there must be others doing this in other languages. I have yet to been able to break that language barrier to find my counterpart in another country. And I think, like, for people like you guys that have this interest, there are others that do this in other countries, and we're all just in these silos right now of these topics. And it's a matter of I don't know how to break through to that. I've tried. I'm not multilingual, but I feel like there has to be people in this who can bridge that gap and find you guys in China, you guys in Japan, you guys
TJ, think about the auto translation that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. Like, we're going to be able to instantaneously communicate and see translation in platforms like that. I think this is the weird thing about futurism. Like, you can kind of predict like big things and cyclical things, but you can't predict, like, you could predict social media, but you couldn't predict Twitter, right? You can predict streaming, but you couldn't predict exactly like the detail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like what's going to happen? What's this world going to look like when we can have somebody from India immediately pop on here, who is our counterpart, and there's going to be an immediate translation available. And now you've just exploded these audiences, exploded these networks. Like, there's some crazy shit right around the corner.
Well, but I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but not only that, TJ just used a 5% example. So 5% of India's population is like roughly our population,
right.
You know, like it would be, or whatever it is. I'm sure it's not that much, but it would be an entirely new audience to expose this show to that could get our show in their language in real time.
And that's going to happen, I'm convinced. So the difference is when all of those things are equal, right? When everyone's on the same playing field in terms of language and there's no more language barrier, what is the next thing that you default to determine credibility or what they're saying real or not? And this is the trust factor and the relationships, the personal relationships, which is why, like, you know, took me over a year to get close enough to Tom for him to trust me and kind of bring me in to kind of introduce me. So building these relationships now, finding out, like, you know, it frustrates me that I can't reach out to these other countries and the other, like the Wemo or the Weibo or whatever it is, like the other Twitter platforms in other countries and other nations that have more people. I mean, the numbers are just astronomical, and you want to start to develop these relationships now, so you can say, hey, we have representation in all around the world. And if something does happen, if all of a sudden you can pool resources and can talk about things, and if there is a big event, you go live worldwide in all these languages simultaneously, and it costs you nothing because you got a webcam. You know what I mean? Like, this is where the thinking I feel like has to go. But it takes a lot of the legwork, like the legwork it took me for Skinwalker, and the legwork takes me for other shows. Someone is going to have to say, you know what, I want to make that happen, and I have the language skills to do it, right? I don't personally, but I have the production skills and the TV background to do what I can do. And everyone has to play, like, take your skill set, figure out what it is, and if you really truly want to push something like that forward, use it. But find the like-minded individuals like yourselves and say, okay, what can you bring to the table? What can you bring? Let's go. Put your tentacles out and go. Yeah. And I mean, because what you're doing, I think this is great, just to kind of see this ramping up. That again, this is just how I think, and what my thoughts been, my process has been for a while. Yeah. So.
No, I mean, like, from a business aspect, it's exciting because, like, one of the reasons I started the channel was I was so tired of, I'm an actor. A lot of, you can go into an audition, you can give your best work, and sometimes it's amazing, but you still don't get the part, so it's completely out of your control. When you work in a restaurant, you have to work by their standards, by their whatever their quirks are in a restaurant. I mean, I've worked in the restaurant biz for 15, almost 20 years. And like, when you have bosses who call you over like this, and you're like, I'm 36 years old. Why are you calling me over like that? Like, my name's Lewis. Like, just say, hey, can you come here? Like, or how a professional waiter would just do this, not say a damn thing, and boom, you come over. Like, but like, I was just tired of it. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this platform, and I see other people doing it, and I'm like, man, I can do that, and I think I could do it better. And I think that there's a business model here, like, because you always hear in this field, you can't make money. There's no money. There's no money. There's no money. And you know what other field I hear that in? The restaurant biz. There's no money in restaurants. Really? Then why are you keep opening 15 restaurants a year if there's no money in restaurants? Why are you writing 10 books in a matter of 7 years if there's no money in UFO books? Like, there's money in this. It's just you have to present it in a way where people are going to make a decision to support it. And this is what's cool about 2021. Is there's a subscription-based model. You see that happening with a lot of successful shows, Joe Rogan, with any one of these big, huge podcasts. You could always pay some money to skip the commercials, to do this, to do that. But the idea of patronage, like giving you their money and saying to you, I love your work. I love what you're doing, and I want to support it. And this is how I'm going to support it. And you give them different options and different tiers and different perks for whatever tier they have. Although with mine, there are no perks. That's right. But it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's this idea that there is a way to make a living off of this and to support yourself without being a sleazeball.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people in this community go, oh, he wants to make money. Yeah. Do you want to work in a restaurant? Do you want to work for Uber or some corporate conglomerate? I mean, in a way, I'm kind of working for YouTube, which takes their percentage, and it's not a nice percentage, but at least I got nobody going like this to me. You know, and I start my show when I want it, and the success of the show is 100% dependent on me and these guys that join the show and help us build this. You know, everybody's got a responsibility. Everybody plays their part, and it's just like, it's cool to see. And I can see what you're talking about, TJ, the future of this popping into a global perspective, you know, and I don't think it'll be 15 or 20 years, Mike, before we start getting these universal translators, man. I mean, you can get our show translated in any language in any country on the bottom of the screen. What's happening, and I think that universal translator stuff, I wouldn't be shocked me if 5 years.
Well, I mean, it's out there now. I mean,
yeah, it's coming. It's so close, but rather, sorry.
When you talk about futurism, you know, you think about AI and robots and stuff like that, potentially, you know, eliminating restaurant jobs and other kind of jobs. It does seem like content creation is kind of the one thing that robots and AI aren't going to be able to take away. And I do see that this whole sphere kind of exploding in the next couple of decades.
I mean, anything that has a finite database, like all of our languages are a finite database, right? They're not growing. So any of that stuff has already been cataloged and processed and translated into every other finite database that there is. There's a Rosetta Stone already for everything, right? I mean, an AI Rosetta Stone, so it's instantaneous translation. It's just, how can they monetize it? And that's, you know, the monetization of a lot of things is what prevents a lot of things from being released. I mean, as you know, there's networks, TV, you know, news crews were using big friggin' beta cameras that cost them $25,000 until like 2005, or, you know, even 2010. It's like, because they paid $30,000 for them, they want to get their use out of it.
Right.
It's like, no, we're not going to go buy new cameras that are, you know, 1/10 the size, weigh nothing, and cost $500 and do much better. No, we want to keep using it. And so that's with everything. Like, until they get their use out of it, there's no reason.
What's hilarious is in 2021, you've got huge network corporation news like ESPN and Fox and ABC. Everybody's on a webcam now. Like, we've gone from in studio, beautiful high definition to these webcams.
Dude,
they're beautiful high definition.
And I am shocked every day. Like, the studio that I built here this is my bedroom. Like, I'm in my bedroom, and I've put the studio together for like less than $1,000, right? And it's like, and I'm watching CNN, and I'm watching people that have shittier webcams than me. I'm watching people that have shittier microphones than me, and I'm going, oh my God, like, there's a whole nother business right here. Like, I could build a whole business just going to famous people's houses and building them a better studio
in their bedroom.
In their bedroom. We could even put it in their den.
If you knew how true this was from my experience with network stuff, like, it is, you have no idea, man. You are so dead on. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. You know, big studios, a lot of overhead, this, and talent's like, just do it. Just do it for me. Like, while I was at NBC at the time, they were eliminating a lot of photographer jobs, and camera ops everyone got merged into what they called predators, producer, editor, shooters. So they were taking 3 different jobs and condensing them down to 1. And you had to have all those skill sets, where 5 years prior, you were an editor, you were a producer, you were a shooter. Like, they were 3 different skill sets. Now everything is matched into 1. And now it's become so commonplace that my son, my 3rd grade son, can do this. Like, if he wanted to. And you see these kind of successes happen online. And that's where a lot of stuff is going to, where the networks, you know, we're in a really rough time for TV. It's just that it's not like it was. Budgets aren't there. The viewers aren't there. You know, Oak Island gets 4.5 million, 4.7 million viewers on, like, maybe on a regular night. And they're number 1. It used to be, that would be 14 million. 12 million,
Wow.
you know, on a regular night.
But I'm wondering, are they when they calculate those numbers, TJ? Because like when I watch Oak Island, I watch it on my iPad through Amazon. Do they count those numbers as well, or
you are gonna I wouldn't even go there. That is like I'll tell you why. You're gonna end up dead talking about that stuff. Like that is the biggest con, like the Nielsen ratings and all these rating stuff. That is like organized crime.
Yeah.
To an extent where you don't understand where, like, okay, so we're 2021.
I think you're going to end up dead. Go ahead.
Why do I have to die for you giving information? What's happening?
So anyway, Nielsen, I love you guys, man.
No, seriously. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stop you. But before we come back to that, actually, G West, real quick. I used to listen to sports talk radio 24/7, and my day is now UFO podcast, YouTube shows. I love all these shows and watching this every day. So yeah, things are absolutely changing. But what do you mean about the ratings? Like what's changed?
So there was a lawsuit last year or the beginning of this year, and it had to do with the pandemic. So for those who don't know how Nielsen works, Nielsen puts boxes. I see Squiddy shaking his head, like maybe you've heard of this, Squiddy, about the lawsuit that had happened. Again, like a lot of the stories that I'm telling you, this is just kind of overview, you know, broad strokes here. You can go in and Google the exact stats on it. But I forget the name of the agency off the top of my head, where what was happening was they were suing Nielsen because what Nielsen did is during COVID, during the pandemic, I'm sorry, let me step back. The way Nielsen works is they put boxes to monitor what people watch in different neighborhoods, right? And I'm going to throw out a number, like maybe there's like 40,000 boxes in all the United States. And whatever one box is watching, it equates to an X number of viewers in that population, right? So if it's a dense population, then they're saying, okay, you guys are watching Oak Island, so X% of that population is watching Oak Island. That's how they get their numbers. So, but what had happened was, so let's just say pre-pandemic, and we're going to use round numbers here, that on any given night, there are 10 million people watching TV pre-pandemic, 10 million people being calculated through Nielsen watching television. Okay. Pandemic happens, time goes on, boxes break. So as about 30% of the boxes went down. And what Nielsen typically would do is send technicians to the house to repair them. However, during COVID, technicians weren't allowed in the houses. Nobody was allowed to fix the boxes, but they kept reporting the numbers as if they were the same. So they were BSing the numbers for at least months, for 6-8 months. And so when people thought that it was the networks were in cahoots with Nielsen, it's not the networks. It's the brands that were in cahoots. Because if a brand says, I got $1 million ad spend I can make, and I want to spend it, and I want to reach as many people as possible, they go to Nielsen, they say, where's my money best spent? Nielsen says, buy, this show 8:00 on Thursdays, right? Whatever. Because you're going to get this many, 2.5 or whatever million people it is. Well, they don't know that you're getting 2.5 million people. They're lying. Their boxes they have no idea. So they were lying. And so the networks the networks are then charging for that time slot. What the networks are saying is, hey, we're going by Nielsen's numbers. Nielsen's reporting these numbers that are, oh yeah, you're going to get this many viewers. You're not getting that many viewers at all. There's no way to prove it. And so all of these commercial ad agencies are suing. They were going after Nielsen. And then Nielsen, at first, I think it was March or April, was backpedal or said, no, we didn't do that. Yeah, that was March. We didn't do that. April, then they end up saying, oh, yes, this is how it happened. So they denied it at first, and then they got busted. And so now it's still playing out. I don't know what the last result was, but basically they were fudging the numbers. I may have butchered the story, but the point is, Nielsen fudged the numbers. They got busted. And now there were a lot of calls for people to say, we need a there you go. Someone just put it in. We need a new call. We need a new way to determine ratings. And because you're using an antiquated system that's based on statistical analysis of population density, when you can easily go to the server at the head end and say, how many packets are being transferred to each and every house? And what channel are those packets on? Like, you could determine who's watching what by the amount of data they're using, very simply. But they refuse to do it because that would be transparency. And then they say, when you ask,
and then they lose their business model.
Yes. And then Lou, when you asked about your iPad, do they track? Nobody knows. Like, all of a sudden now, that's the truth. Nobody knows, right? And if they do know, are they calculating that into the ad sales? These are all great questions that are, as a digital age is hitting, these things have to be addressed. And this is why with TV, like with TV and tech, it's like, do you want the transparency? And who benefits? The consumer benefits. Well, if we're going to benefit, then they're not going to do it. If it's not going to help them, why would they help the consumer? The networks are going to be the ones that are saying, hey, no, we're not doing this. That's nuts. Why would we hurt ourselves? It just doesn't make any sense.
I am a little shocked, though, that the studio isn't going to say, you know, because Prometheus is producing the show, why aren't they going to Amazon and saying, okay, listen, we'll give you the show to sell in your format for whatever, $29.99 for the season, $30. You pay for the whole season.
They very well, listen, these very well might be in worth. Like you can see Skinwalker on a number of different streaming.
Right. Yeah, you can see it on iTunes, Amazon. Yeah, no, they sell the whole season wherever you can basically, you know, because if you don't have cable, you don't have access to the show, so they got to put it on other platforms. But I'm just curious, like I'm wondering why the studio isn't like, yo, you have to be transparent with how many downloads you guys are getting. Like, doesn't the studio don't they get a check written for that $39.99 that's paid, or the $30 that you pay?
I don't know who's doing these audits.
Yeah,
which I find really fascinating to just show you how little, like how unaware we. Well, I mean, I'm aware because I'm paying attention, right? Because this is what I do. Like, but most people don't pay attention. And I'm not saying people are stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't pay attention to other industries as well as I do my own. But like, if you know, something that I found really strange, Discovery Plus was streaming Skinwalker Ranch. How? Like we ran that up the chain. We were waiting on an answer. Because you know, Discovery is, if you look at like pyramids, right? A&E networks and Discovery networks,
they're totally separate. Yeah,
everything is underneath. Where's the A&E equivalent to that streaming service, and why isn't it there only? So you know, watching the convergence of all of these networks, like 10 years ago, there was a huge, you know, merger of all of these networks happened. It's happening again. Because you used to go to each individual network.
So hold on, real quick. So Discovery Plus, who owns Discovery?
Discovery Networks owns Discovery Channel.
Got it. Plus. And so Discovery Plus is running Skinwalker. So they obviously
by A&E,
which is owned by A&E.
History owns A&E owns History Channel.
A&E owns History. So
this is crossing the streams.
Right. Exactly.
So Discovery bought the licensing to put it on Discovery Plus, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well,
okay.
That's what you would think, but it seems like but A&E is being caught by surprise. They're going, how the hell did you guys get the rights to our show?
This is all.
Or that's you guys. You guys on your level are going like that, but the executives know.
Obviously,
this is not
somebody, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are plans that we just aren't privy to, and I'm
right.
That, like in TV, you just have to understand. Like, look, here's what they're looking for. Here's what you're trying to do. You have to work within the system. If you want to play the game, right? If you want to work in this and you want to make shows, and if you want to, you know, pitch ideas, they give you mandates. They say we're looking for X, Y, and Z. You try to find it. Producers all run out. They try to find different shows to, you know, fill these orders, and then they buy. If they shift or change for something different, okay, then you either say, oh, I'll go look for that, or you know what, I can't find that. But there's also the idea of like, hey, whatever's happening on the corporate level and all of this, like I have no say in that. I don't even know. I just know what I do. I can make great shows. I can look for great shows and content. But if you see this, if you kind of, like you're saying, futurism, right? If you're trying to see the pattern of what's happening here, there's like Lou said, they're crossing the streams. So if that, then what else is where it goes? And if it's anything like it was in the past, you're going to see more, you know, convergence of these networks, where you don't, you know, years ago, you'd have to pitch each individual network. Now you pitch the network heads and they say, okay, Discovery or A&E, you pitch those execs and they say, that's a great idea. That would live on this channel best, as opposed to going directly to that channel and pitching that channel. So now there used to be somebody at everything, and now there's like very few people way at the top of that pyramid. And for those who don't know, I keep doing these things like pyramids. These are my
dude. I do not, and yeah, because there's only like 5 major media corporations in America, right? I mean, it's crazy. Jeremy McGowan asked, "What products seek out Skinwalker for advertising? Are you privy to any of that data?"
I do not know. I would imagine, you know, that the sales, like if you just watch the ads that, you know, run on the show.
Right. That's one easy way to figure it out.
No, I wasn't saying that to be flippant or like a jerk or anything. I'm just saying like those are the types, but it's, again, you're capturing a market and the average age, like we helped Skinwalker Ranch brought the age down of the average viewer of History Channel. I think it was like 62-year-old females. I think it brought it down to like 59-year-old females, which just shows you, and that is pretty much in tune with the rest of cable. And it just shows you the aging population of cable TV,
right?
Where they all, that's why younger, the target demo is all on streaming stuff.
Right. And that's going to continue. And over the next 20 years, I mean, cable's going to be out. Like, it's going to be all streaming. And what you do know when it comes to streaming is exact analytics, right? You don't have to worry about data packets and Nielsen. Nielsen's a dinosaur. It is going, gone. Like, it's out.
As a kid, I would have been so excited if I had a Nielsen box just to like confuse it.
Leave it on bowling 24/7.
Bowling 24 hours a day.
Why are they watching bowling?
Why is this 9-year-old girl watching bowling all day?
She's skewing the devil. Get it off.
But like I'm a Facebook marketer. Like, that's what I do all day long. And so I'm looking at like real-time analytics. So I know like what demographics, what countries, what interest levels, like all this information is just like, it's there. And so one of the things that's changing also is Apple. Apple just recently released iOS 14.5, which actually allowed people to actually choose whether or not they could cross app track them when it comes to their data. So it's actually, Apple's in this fight with Facebook. And so all these corporations are all fighting for our data. And that's the thing, like what people don't realize is whenever you do anything for free online, like you are the product, like market that you're going into an advertising funnel, their advertisers are looking to target you. Now, the question is that bad? Would you rather have targeted advertising or non-targeted ad? Because you're going to get advertised to. Period. The question is, do you want to be targeted to or not? And that's really like the dilemma.
I just don't want to have to make the choice when I'm watching. What is it? Is it Hulu? And they want you to freaking pick your freaking commercial. I
so
hate
annoying.
it so
and it's like, and it just sits there, and it's like, pick your commercial, and you're like, I don't want to pick my commercial, and it's just a standoff between you and the television. Like, it's like, I'm not going to do anything. Are you going to do anything?
We're in a transition phase though, right? Because you're seeing Apple's pushback. Because Apple is the infrastructure. They have the hardware. Facebook is a software running on top of it. So if Apple's like, no, you're done making money on my stuff. It's time for me to and this is where the stranglehold, whoever controls your pipeline controls your world. If Apple's phone is bringing that Facebook stuff into there, they're going to start eating into their infrastructure until Facebook goes away and somebody else replaces it and provides the interconnectivity service of everything and just steals and monetizes everything you say, do, and look at.
Right.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it's just who owns it. Sally Van Devore says, I represent, she says, I have a Nielsen box, one for each TV. I represent 30,000 households.
Thank you for validating my butchering of the data.
No, I thought you
tune into Skinwalker Ranch 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Lou, what did you say?
No, I was just, I thought you laid out the Nielsen rating box system very well.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't like spouting like facts. These are no. This is my understanding of things, and I'm trying to make broad generalizations and understanding that there's.
But you are right. Like the those services that like Nielsen, they're a mob. They're like the garbage collection. They're like, yeah, you guys owe us $63.50 for protection. And you're like, okay, well, how much protection did we get this quarter? Yeah, you guys got a lot of protection. You're doing real good. I'm like, okay.
We sprayed for ghosts.
Yeah, it's so funny, dude. So funny. They are a mob, but that's that's no secret. That's been known for a while.
Yeah, I just think it's now becoming transparent that people are kind of seeing it.
Right.
It's what is this? I see something else. Is there
Terrace Batla, our homeboy.
Yeah. Love ECR, NTJ, FYI, there's a strong correlation between documented and anomalous activity at Skinwalker Ranch and the precise location of artifacts, pictographs, and other evidence of past native habitation.
And just so you know, Terrace runs a Skinwalker Ranch. He put on a Skinwalker Ranch museum exhibit at the University of Maryland. Where,
that's him?
Yeah, that's him. Mm-hmm.
I think I've spoken to him.
Yep.
I feel like, okay.
Yeah, he was on the Big Phone Home and UCR as well. Yeah, Terrace is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of the pictures in that new book are pictures they pulled from. I'm forgetting the name of the photographer, so don't get mad at me, Terrace.
Chris Martell?
That I was gonna say Chris Martell, but I didn't want to say it because I thought I was wrong. I knew it was Damn it! I should have said it. Damn.
I could be wrong too.
But yeah, no. I mean, he's like, does this picture look familiar? I'm like, oh yeah, you showed us that 4 or 5 months ago. But yeah, no, that's he's right. Like his comments right.
The reason
I'm still learning about a lot of Skinwalker stuff though. There's a lot of legend and lore to that I really had gotten heavily into, and I see now as it's branching out, and like you were saying, like the citizen scientist idea. Like as you see more people getting engaged in the topic, you're going to start to see more and more info that you had no idea. And again, I don't know true, not true. I do know that people have experience, people know things, and this is what I was hoping. Talking with all of you guys, like I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping continue learning. Like this is great, and it's almost like shaking the tree of like what else is out there that I don't know of, because I'm just like anybody else, right? I'm not a beautiful and unique snowflake, right? Nobody has ideas are beautiful and unique. Like everybody has these same ideas. Everyone has the same like if you already thought of a show and you think, oh my God, no one's ever thought of this. Yeah, they have.
Now, whether or not they executed on it, whether or not they took action on it, that's a whole nother story.
Right. And I have my skill set is one that I can take action on these things, and even executing is one thing. But I also, because of my career path and what I've done, I have the ability to put it in front of people who can make the decisions and make it happen. And that took me 20 years of my, of building relationships in a career. So, I've had a lot of times where in this community in particular, right, it's not as much in like the woodworking community or the treasure hunting community, or that one's they're kind of like angry too. They all hold their secrets till death, which is okay. Or like the underwater treasure hunting, scuba diving, magnet fish, like any of these other topics I go into. This one in particular, people think that they have an idea, and that they can be a TV producer because they have this idea. Oh my God, I'm a producer. I had this idea. I know this guy, and I'm going to make this happen. I'm like, okay, do you have any? Where's your credits? What have you done? Oh, I've done everything. Okay, can you show me? No, you don't have any listed. Okay, but I know everybody. Okay, who do you know? Well, all these guys on Twitter. Okay, so you don't really know them. You just know them on Twitter. Like so, and I get this a lot, and it's just you don't want to be rude to people, but at the same time, it's kind of like it may look easy to do, certain things like what you guys are doing. Oh, I could start a channel. Yeah, do it. Good luck.
Go for it.
Yeah, the Dunn-Kruger effect, right?
Right. Like, and this it kind of, it gets to me when people are like, oh, I can make that. Yeah, I'm a producer. I had this great idea. Okay, great. And
yeah.
Also,
it's hard, man.
Some great ideas.
Yeah. Executing on a great idea is hard. And like one of the biggest challenges that, we've had the first podcast we ever did was called Kick-Ass Dad. And it was about parenting, and it was about like, doing your best as a parent. And like that did well in the early days of podcasting. And then I tried 2 more times to launch 2 different podcasts after that. And they were utter failures. And I had already had success. Right. And so like this idea, like this digital world, it is so accessible to so many people, and you really can get out there and do something with it. But like, be okay with like tripping over stuff and then just getting up and doing it. And the more, one of the things that I found was like, the more you just do stuff for other people, like that's how I met Luis. I went to the debrief and I was like, hey, look, y'all, you guys, would you like some content for YouTube? I'll do it for free. And they're like, sure. And so I did that. And then I started networking and meeting all these people. And then like, that's how the Singularity Lab was born, through that interaction and just getting out there and connecting with people and building that network. And so like, I think there's huge opportunity out there for people in new media, but like, just, realize that you gotta do it. There's a lot of work to be done. You gotta be consistent. You gotta get out there and do things for people. But reciprocity is a real thing with human beings. Like you don't always have to be like selling to people, just give to people. And it's funny how much like you'll get back just automatically. And I'm not even talking about spiritually. I'm not talking about karma. I'm talking about like actual human beings. They want to help you when you do something for them.
Right.
I try to help people all the time.
I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was don't be afraid to ask. You never know what people might be able to do for you. But I know Rather's got to get out of here.
Oh yeah, we gotta let Rather go.
Rather, do you have any last questions before you get out of here?
God, I have a lot, but I don't have any time to listen, so I'll leave it for you guys. But this was a great conversation, TJ. Really,
awesome,
really
man.
appreciate it. And sorry for ducking out early, but
we'll do this again.
Don't be sorry. We'll see you tomorrow for KGRA show.
Have fun wherever you're going.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's always a mystery wherever Rather's going.
Yeah, back to the squid tank.
And he's gone.
He's gone. Just like a black ink spot. Out of here.
He needs to do that when he just has
like a comic.
Yeah, comic sans, like ink spot.
What you said, Michael, like the idea of the helping people, and I that's why I leave my DMs open. I try to engage with as many people as I can. Like the only thing, again, the only thing I can offer to a lot of people that don't have it, necessarily have it, is access, right? So I don't have all this. I don't have all the answers. Maybe you know something I don't know, but at least I can be a conduit to try to help somebody get something out there or get something done. And I constantly look for genuine people who are doing things and not trying to play an angle. Like, I'm saying right now, the idea is trying to find people who are doing stuff, who are the next scientists that are actually out there looking. And I found a few online now on Twitter that they're not part of the talking head UFO Twitter world. Fresh faces, new people that aren't debating about documents and leaks and reading into like there's an extra period in that's a sign. Like they're not doing that. They're out there in the field recording stuff, posting stuff. That's what I'm looking for. Because there's great people in the community. Don't get me wrong. There's people. That's a necessary thing. Like people that are going through the document dumps. Like John, awesome at Black Vault, Greenwald. I love him. Like that's the epitome of like credibility. And there's someone who does not give two F's about drama. Like this is what it says. This is what it is. I didn't write it.
Well, is that the hard part, though, to make it interesting? Because science is not usually very fast. It's not always that exciting. So
it is.
Which is why, and again, to be honest, like that was one of the things that was so hard for me with Skinwalker, because I could, obviously it has to be a formula, right? There has to be reality TV formula to keep it entertaining, keep it interesting. And so I always approach a reality TV and I'm always like, well, if it was news, it would have been on the news, not on a show. Like that's the biggest challenge. But like to Kristen's point, like science is slow.
Well, listen, if any of the stuff, and this is, I fought this for a while, like if there are any discoveries, if the stuff does leak, there's repercussions to that. Like, I don't know if you would really see it on the news first. I truly don't.
That's interesting.
You might hear leaks, whispers in the communities, but in a big way, you better not hear it on the news, is what I'm saying. Like there would be a lot of there would be trouble. I mean, I
didn't know that. I didn't know. Like
NDAs.
Okay.
Just think of the investment that a network puts into something, and then somebody leaks that, and then it scoops their freaking ratings and scoops their show. Like, yeah, you're not going to get away with that, and chances of you working again are probably slim and none. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of unwritten rules there, and also written rules. You're right. You sign NDAs. Someone starts leaking stuff like, "Oh my God, we found this thing." Really? Okay. Good luck finding a job after that. Like, you get your 15 megs of fame, which I used to own the URL to, but it was sold.
15 megs of fame. You used to own the URL.
Yeah, I used to. I might still be open. So I always thought like, this is a cool idea, and I held on to it.
Not anymore.
It was the idea, but I was sick of paying for it, right? It was the idea tax. Every year it comes due, and it's like, I have an idea, and I got to pay that money again to register it. 10 years of that idea tax. I'm like, 15megs.com, gone.
Yeah.
But no, if that stuff leaks, there'd be repercussions to that.
I just put we got 5 minutes left. So if anybody wants to call in and ask a question, you can. So Earth versus Uranus, yes, we've got you. Absolutely. I'm putting they're like, oh, you said, you promise.
Listen, on the side, I told you, or I wanted to tell you, I contacted Avi Loeb about doing a show.
You did?
Yeah, because I immediately, before you even had him on a show, I was super happy when I saw him there, because I'm like, he's reaching out, he's getting out there. But just so that it's already locked up. There's no, you know, I mean, that's an institution that's already doing stuff with that. So there, I thought that would have been a great idea to
When you
kind of
say institution, you mean Harvard?
Yeah, I believe so. He didn't give me details, but it sounds like they're, if anything was going to happen, it's already taken care of.
Awesome. You're on the air.
God, brother Lou, brother Mike. This is a quick one. This is Lou Elizondo's neck.
Lou Elizondo's. This is Lou Elizondo's neck.
This is Lou Elizondo's neck. You can't tell by the voice.
Sister Kristen. Kristen, how you doing, sister? Killer show, guys. As always. Last we spoke, brother. I was lost in the jungles of Malaysia. You know, well, Corbell's beard set me up with the time-dilated passport, brother. Sorry, I'm taking fire here. So anyways, do you want to hear the good news or the bad news first?
Let's go bad news.
Yeah, bad news. What's the bad news, Lou Elizondo's neck?
Oh my God, really?
Do we lose you?
Did we lose him? I feel like he's
no, brother. I got a little bit of fire. I'm back now, but listen up here. I just got a few seconds here, and I got to get this straight out there. All right, you got to listen to me, brother. Corbell's, this might be the last time you hear from me. Now listen close, take notes, brother. Corbell's beard set me up with the time-dilated passport, brother. With the ROTB. On the condition, you know, the rest of my body, on the condition, brother, that he paid for my lawyer's fees, travel expenses, brothers, and a light dinner or two. But the Mr. Fancy Bodies wanted me to sign an NDA, a disciplinary agreement, brother. So, you know, I guess it's just a bridge underwater. Well, so the bad news or good news? What do you want first?
The bad news, yeah, please, the bad news.
All right, the good news is Ross Coolheart's integrity found me, brother. Little did I know, he was a space-time continuum's game warden, keeping us safe while we sleep, brother. He also brought me some steak tartare. The bad news, I'm stuck in 1943 Germany. I used the time-dilated passport to travel through the space-time continuum, ultimately resulting in a major loss of neck mass, forced me to abort the mission, brother. So, you know, that's about it. But you know, oh my God, brother.
TJ,
here we go.
TJ, do you have anything to say as we say goodbye to Lou Elizondo's neck?
No, where am I?
What's
going on?
This is Ross Coolheart's integrity. I've been charged with taking Lou Elizondo out of this neck. And I'm coming here to save the day, mate. All right, now I'm looking forward to Ross Coolheart's integrity, mate. Adios.
We appreciate your integrity, Lou Elizondo's neck.
The Macho Man. Oh, look who's doing the Macho Man impression.
That was incredible. So he said, so Lou Elizondo's neck was actually in 1940s Germany. He utilized Jeremy Corbell's beard and the transdimensional portal of Jeremy Corbell's beard to move into. So he's taking fire right now, so he can't stay on for too long. But that's
so
Lou Elizondo's
we are so sorry, TJ. I mean, like, we've got no control over who calls. The first time we got a call from Lou Elizondo's neck, he was lost in the woods in Rancho Cucamonga.
We'll take one more call. We'll take one more call. This is probably not Lou Elizondo's neck. You're on the air.
Hey, how's it going? This is Sneaky Toaster.
Sneaky Toaster, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, how's everyone going?
Good.
I decided to tune in here at the end. I have a question for the executive producer, TJ Allard, right?
Yes.
And it's just the question concerning the Skinwalker Ranch series, right? Would it be fair to say that there is a lot more information and hard data that just is not ready to be released to the public yet, regardless of what that topic is involving? Would that be fair to say, as far as just everyone who's being caretakers of the property or just investigating the phenomenon in general? Is that a fair assessment based on, you know, the days of NIDS, the days of VAS, right? All of those pieces of information are still slowly being released over time. You know, we just had the book release the other day, right? And people are still digging through that. I'm at like 68% through, and I'm really enjoying just going through that. So I didn't know if you could just from your experience dealing with people on the ranch, is that a fair assessment to say that we're getting pieces of a much larger puzzle that is going to take a while for it to be digested by people?
All right. So no. No, there's what I can say honestly, I can only speak to what I am privy to and what I know. The current people, Brandon Adamantium, that owns Skinwalker, has absolutely nothing, no connection to anything, any of the data, anything prior. That was kind of made really clear a number of times. We tried and tried, and unless that changes or until that changes, as of right now, you know as much about the history as anybody else. There is no historical data that is being secretly hidden or slowly released that I'm aware of. There are Skinwalker experts out there.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I maybe misspoke. I didn't mean it. And maybe I misreferenced it. I wasn't necessarily talking about the historical data. I was talking specifically about the investigations that are ongoing, as Brandon has always attested to.
So current data collect. Is there more data? Is there more data within? Right. Is there more data that has been captured that hasn't necessarily been showed on the show yet?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
Yes, there's absolutely more data that you haven't seen. And yeah, that's the process, right? That's the idea. And it's not for anything else other than for, you know, the release of you have a product that you're trying to make interesting, and it's not like things are being withheld for any reason, you know. And like you said, like the data, the raw data, like Lou was saying before, you know, yeah, it'll get there when the time is right. The good thing here is, you know, that this is entertainment, right? So my bias is toward entertainment. These things have to be presented, you know, like you said earlier, like science could be boring. It takes a long time. You know, you want to keep people entertained, you want to keep people interested, and you got to have something to kind of release. If you just data dump everything all the time, then what am I going to do a show for? Like, how are you going to, you know, take people on a journey? Like, how are people going to see the experience? Like, why would you even care to watch the experience if you already got the finished product? Like, you want people to share the experience with you as well and going through it. Like watching Travis get burned or watching something hovering under the helicopter. Like, you would miss all of that. And that's the idea of just like Oak Island. You know, if you just all of a sudden said, wipe it out, and then if you read in the newspaper, you know, an article that, oh yeah, they found the biggest treasure in the, you know, history of humanity. Okay, great. That was 2 lines. And now what? Like, you got 10 seasons of stuff that you're watching. So there's entertainment value there. And this is what all of this is about. You know, there's a scientific component to all of this, and you're using real science. But I mean, you know, let's be honest, like, it's TV. It's like you were saying, it's a money-making venture. People aren't doing this for free. The TV portion. Brandon, on the other hand, is different. That's an individual who has an interest in this and has the means to study this. And like I said, whether or not I was there, if I never came knocking on his door, like, they'd still be doing this. If I never got there, this would be going on underground, behind the scenes. And I'm convinced that there are more like that's happening around the world somewhere. We can't be the one beautiful, unique snowflake. This ranch in Utah can't be the only place where someone with means is studying this. It can't be. It has to be happening somewhere else in the world. It's just a matter of finding that. And maybe they want an outlet and they just don't know where to go. And that's why I was saying I'm access. I provide access. If you hear of these rumors and these places, please, let's go make it happen. You know, that's why you're building the network of people to kind of get the word out there. Like, hey, if there's a market for it, let's watch it. But no, there's no conspiracy here that I'm aware of. You know, that's all I can say. I hate those conspiracy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your sincerity. And again, you know, love the show. I love what you guys, Singularity Lab, are doing as always. Thanks for letting me call in. And no, I definitely think more information will come out over time, and we'll start to put the pieces together.
Awesome.
That's all we can do.
Sneaky Toaster.
Thanks for the time.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate your voice and sharing it with us. Thanks so much, brother. Bye-bye.
I got to ask you guys a couple of questions before we go, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like,
go
what
ahead.
are your thoughts? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are your thoughts about the ranch in particular? Like, where do you think is happening? Oh, we got more calls.
Let's do one more call, and then I'll answer that question.
Yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Caller, you're the last caller, and then we're gonna wrap up the show with a couple last questions from TJ. TJ's turning the show around. Caller, you're up.
Caller. Okay, first of all, bottled water.
Bottled water is here. What's going on, brother?
That's bottled water?
What is up, everyone?
We are good, brother. How are you?
I'm great. I've only driven like 3,200 miles in the last 5 days.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's moving.
Where you headed?
Kansas.
Well, I've made my final destination. I'm in the great state of Kansas.
Cool. What are you doing in Kansas?
Well, showed up yesterday and we seem to have a mountain lion problem.
So you went mountain lion hunting.
Well, I went, don't let my in-laws dogs die hunting.
Whoa.
Got it. Did you have anything you wanted to hit TJF? Yeah. Hit us up. What do you got?
Oh, he knows I do.
Of course you do.
TJ.
What's up, man? It's good to talk with you.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? It is. I mean, we're finally talking phone to face.
Yeah, okay, all right, bottled water. This isn't the bottled water show. Get to your question. What's going on?
Sorry. All right. So we both understand that drunk UFO Twitter or drunk UFO history definitely came from me.
Oh,
because I'm always drunk.
I might have.
Because I'm always drunk.
I am the originator of the tweet.
I'm not sure. Is it you? I feel like it was that woman, maybe Julie something.
Julie Wetchell, maybe?
I don't know. She's got. I can see her picture.
Oh no! I retweeted it, and I tagged you in it.
Okay.
Okay. So he's taking credit for a retweet.
Yes, I am.
It's not mine.
Is that why you called in to take credit for a retweet?
I did. Yes, that's how ridiculous I am.
But wait, the question is, but are you? It's not always about who comes up with the idea, but it's who can execute, as we stated earlier. So, are you drunk right now, bottled water?
Well, yeah, it's a day that ends with Y. Yeah, I am.
All right. Well, you are the execution behind you drunk UFO Twitter, so you will definitely be involved in this game.
Oh yes. Well, TJ, we're gonna have a conversation later.
Fantastic. All right,
we'll make
bottled
sure
water.
to put
It's
your
great.
name in the credits.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Hey, bottled water. We really appreciate you calling in, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, love you guys. Talk to you later.
Love you, man. All right.
Talk soon.
Bye.
All right.
That's so great. So great.
Oh, my goodness.
He's like, yes, I am taking credit for a retweet.
Hey, that's cool. I just didn't want people thinking I was taking credit for something that I think is genius.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone can take credit for a show idea that already exists, and all we're doing is taking one topic and putting. Yeah, everybody's just copying an idea here. So I don't know how much credit you want to take for this idea, but if you want to go for it, go for it.
Matthew Wright says that was a screen test.
Oh, so funny.
So tell me this: what do you guys think? Like, what are your thoughts on the ranch and on the idea of like the quest, the unknown science aspect of this? Like, I want to hear what your, if you have time, like this is, I really want to get in feedback from you guys. Like, what else? What do you want to see? Like, what do you think is happening there, and what else would you want to see? Not just on Skinwalker, but in general. Like, what kind of programming are you looking at?
Ooh. Okay. Well, let me hit Skinwalker first, because I really don't like. I have no idea what's going on Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm really curious if and McGowan actually the other day he said bookmark this tweet, because it was the super cryptic Twitter statement, and he said bookmark this tweet. There's something going on at Skinwalker, and I believe it's ancient and technological. I was like, ooh,
that's Junior's theory.
What's that? That's
Junior's theory. So that's a theory that's been out for a while, that there was, and actually, when I had shot with him,
maybe he retweeted it.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
No, Junior was kind of the guy who was the record keeper of the basin for a long time, and he passed away a couple of years ago, or last year actually. Great guy. He was like maybe in his 80s or 90s, and I sat down and had we have tons of interview footage. We have probably close to over 2 hours of interview stuff with him. That he, and he went into this whole theory about where something is buried, where he's saying there's a spaceship or something underneath the ridge line. And he actually pointed out exactly where he thought it was, and he showed us this area of like where to walk and where things were happening under, yeah. So anyway, that's a theory that's been talked about.
Right.
But yeah, so anyway, please.
So Aaron Desario, he's one of our local panelists who comes on the show quite a bit, and he's actually a coder, works at Google. And one of the things he's fascinated by is the Caleb's iPhone, the bypassing of the lock screen. And he keeps saying over and over, like, you guys do not understand how that should not happen. Like, there's no, like, that should not be happening. So it's fascinating stuff. Now, as far as Luis, did you want to hit something on Skinwalker before we go on to what else we want to see? And
as far as Skinwalker, I mean, I'm sort of in the same agreement that something strange is definitely going on. I mean, if I was going to put on a producer hat, there would be a couple things. The things I would love to see behind the scenes. Like I said, with the crew and the difficulties that they go through, but I'd also love to see an experiment that is constant throughout the entire season. Like, I loved the experiment they did last season with playing music and getting responses from it. I'll play the music for all 10 episodes and check in on it and see what's changed, because it seems like we're rushing experiments to see what works. And then when one works, I'd like to see that one that works repeated to see if the scientific process can work itself out. That's would be the biggest thing I'd like to see. And I'd also love to see, like a 24-hour live feed of 4 cameras on every corner of the ranch pointing dead center.
It's
that would be cool, and I think things like those.
Yeah, Brandon's talked about that. He's been talking about doing that for a long, long time.
That would be killer, because now you got like something like a NASA feed where people are going to be recording it and going through it. And if you could get 2 cameras triangulated on one thing in the sky, now you've got math. I mean, that's the thing that Mick West complains about all the time. Like, give me something with 2 angles. Give me something I could see from multiple places, and now we could really do some math and try to figure it out.
Yeah, they did the live feed a couple of times on YouTube. I don't know if you guys caught that. They've done live feeds from the ranch.
But that's where they're walking around, right? And they're kind of
no. They've done live. There was some live feeds right when the show had started. Like, I remember them doing live feeds, and there tens of thousands of people tuned in, and it was like, well, that's a proof of concept.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's to me. Yeah, I mean, like, I've seen live feeds on YouTube that run for 8 or 12 hours of just the Vegas Strip. Like, I think people would tune in to a live stream of the ranch where they could switch the cameras,
absolutely,
and sort of interact with it. I think that would be awesome. And I think that would also quell a lot of the bitching. Oh, you don't give us access. You don't give us. Where's the data? Where's the data? Here, look at the data 24/7. Whenever the hell you want, record it. Do whatever you want with it.
That's actually a great idea. It would shut a lot of people up. It would shut
a lot of people up. It could, myself included. I want that data, man. I don't want the data. I want the data public. Like, I think when season 1 ends, all the data that's collected for season 1 should immediately be made public. Same thing for season 2 and season 3 and season 4. So that way he doesn't have the obligation to do that, right? It's his ranch, it's his money, it's his investment. He doesn't have to do any of this stuff. These are just my suggestions on things like, if I was a billionaire, these are the things I would do.
So I have a question for you. So
yeah,
are you familiar at all with like data science? So the hardest part of the data is, in any data scientist, as someone who's studying data science, would tell you, like, the most time-consuming part is cleaning it and getting it into the format.
Right.
The analysis is the easy part. These algorithms are written. You can just slap out, put it in Python, and just run stuff. And visualize it. The hardest part, the most time-consuming part, is the cleaning of it and the storage of it and giving access.
Well, that's what UAPX says too. Like they can collect all the data. It's actually picking it apart and, like you said, loading it and making sure that the data is clean, it's usable data. And if you've got 24 hours of data, it takes forever to go through, forever. So from that aspect, I get it.
But video cameras and that data is different than collecting data from a spectrometer and from all these different tools. And because you can't just dump it somewhere, like it has to be contextualized.
Right.
And if you did dump all of that data from a spectrometer or any device, and you have multiple devices and it's running simultaneously, you're still talking about tons and tons of data that is like, and it still has to be processed and just cleaned. And once it's set up, then it's easy to work on and it's easy to do things with. There's a program called Ultrix you can run stuff through, or you can do it in R, or you can do it in Python. Like there's plenty of different tools. It's just a matter of getting them, in a fashion that's workable. Now, the video part of it is the killer. And I've had conversations with Eric about this. Like, this is not just all these things we're talking about. Just think they are already on it. They've thought of it. And, the idea of having cameras like that and then getting people involved, because I've said many times, you just reiterated, if you had cameras up there, people will watch. And people will watch and time code and be like, did you see on camera 17 at 12:29 and 37 seconds, this happened? And then people will go back and watch and be like, yes, I have confirmation. Boom, there's 3 different people that say it. It gets kicked off into a system that somebody else puts eyes on.
And here's the other beautiful part about it. You can also put like a countdown on there to the next season. You know what I mean? Like, so it gives people somewhere to go, and even when the show's not running, because I think people, like you just said, they're going to be freak balls about it. They're going to do a lot of work for you guys as far as stuff in the sky. What do you got, Mike?
I was going to say the only difficulty with the next season thing is like those contracts and obligation. Like, you just don't know, like, you don't even know, like, there's times when you don't even know if you're getting another season. Like, you just don't know. So that's difficult.
No, that's true. But I'm saying, once you find out, then you just pop the counter up.
Sure.
They even ended last season on Oak Island saying, we don't know if we're going to come back for another season. So and it's number one, like, again, this is TV. Like, there's
well, contracts have to be rewritten, especially depending on I don't know how reality TV contracts work, but I know in network television, I think you get the first season contract, and then if it's renewed, then the contract changes. But it's like you got to stick to that second contract, I think, for at least 2 or 3 seasons. And then once you get to the 5th or 6th season, that's when the money, season 2, 3, and 4, the money's ridiculous. Season 1, the money's ridiculous. But when you start getting to season 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like, you're talking, just shy of $1 million per episode.
If you get 5 seasons of a sitcom, you're retired.
Yeah,
I still have my SAG card, man. I'm still a SAG paying actor. Yeah, and it's like it used to be 3 seasons, and now it's 5 seasons until you're retired. But that's a different game. It's a war of attrition acting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's a nightmare. But like, Michael, did you want to answer like what would you like to see sort of in the
future? Yeah. So Lou and I have a script for you. No.
It's called Lou Elizondo's neck.
No, I mean, like the sort of I guess for me, like the biggest challenge is I always find reality TV to be so formulaic and unbelievable. It's difficult for me to buy into it. But I think one of the things that, just kind of after talking to you, like I get a better perspective on like what on script is, what off script is, and, like the different variations of the format. But like for me, like when it comes to things that I'm interested in and watching on television, like, I don't watch a lot of reality TV. Like I'm more interested in taking, bigger picture concepts and like bringing them into like a story format. Like, I guess that's where I find more entertainment. Now, I do love Top Chef. So that is a reality television I absolutely adore, but I guess that's because I'm a foodie, and I've been a chef, so I don't.
So you want to see a chef challenge on Skinwalker Ranch?
I don't have a cohesive idea. I don't have a cohesive pitch for you, TJ. Unfortunately.
No, it doesn't have to pitch. Even like, look, there's so many anomalous places, right? In the U.S. alone, and I feel like I've hit everything that you can. Like we're going to eventually hit, critical mass where there are no other hidden secret places. I don't think we've hit that yet. I think that people are like treasure hunters. They're holding on to their secrets. I don't know why. They want answers, but they won't tell you. And this might beef with the whole UFO community. Like everyone has something. Everyone's got. Okay, show me. All the hundreds of thousands of people that I've talked, not hundreds of thousands, thousands of people I've spoken to, have all, some have said they got secrets. You push them on it to show me, and it's never been proved.
It's never there.
It's never there. Oh, you have an object? Great. Let me see it. I can't. Why? Because X, Y, Z.
Well, I've got a couple of ideas, like things I'd like to see. I guess they'd sort of be pitches. I would love to see a kind of what FX is doing right now, what they did with like OJ and Versace, and where they give you this season of television based off of this true story. And they put some killer actors to the story, and of course parts of it I'm sure are dramatized, but for the most part it's based off of the reality of the situation. I would love to see something like that with the Bob Lazar story, the Betty and Barney Hill story, the Lou Elizondo story. Like I think there's room to create really compelling television, and I know Michael hates this example, but I think Bob Lazar could be very much turned into like a Breaking Bad, where part of you really wants to root for this guy, but he's not a very good person, sort of thing, and you want, and maybe the ambiguity of the whole thing is what feeds the show. Is you never know whether this guy is telling you the truth.
That is actually pretty good. That's cliffhanging. Yeah.
I love stuff like
it would
that.
Piss me off,
if I was going to do just purely entertainment, I think I'd go that route. From a reality standpoint, I do like some reality TV. A lot of the reality TV I really, really love are this like gold digging shows, like stuff that like produces stuff.
This is what I know. That's all I know.
Yeah, where they put a whole bunch of effort into getting something and then they actually produce something, So I think that's why I like Oak Island so much. But I would also like to see, a UFO or UAP kind of centric show where they're okay with not scripting it, like truly not scripting it out. Like I think you could get your locations, you can get the things that you want to try and study or get on film or use instruments to try and gather. I would like to see it in one place, like a hotspot where you do 10 episodes on just this one place.
Are you familiar with Hesdalen, TJ?
Where is this?
Hesdalen. Wow. It's Norway, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Hesdalen is a place in Norway, and they've been studying UFO phenomenon there for a very long time. They've got these extraordinary lights that they've identified as possible plasmas, but they shouldn't be able to hold their form, and they hold their form forever. Like we could get you in touch with somebody who knows all about it. We know the professors who studied this.
Yeah, scientific papers have been written about the Hesdalen.
This is an incredible place.
But like to put like a crew and a team of equipment at, let's say, Hesdalen or Skinwalker, and if nothing happens. I mean, you're gonna have to find a way to make. I think the hosts, whoever hosts the show, have to be entertaining to be like, all right, so we tried that and we got nothing, or we got a whole bunch of even no data is still data.
And that Luis and I can do.
Almost every day.
Can make a fun show out of nothing.
Out of nothing. I mean, but like I think this idea of I think it would be insanely hard to convince a network like, yeah, we're really not gonna plan anything. I mean, we've got our science experiments planned. I think it would have to take an independent, like a Brandon Fugal, which is kind of what he's doing, but he's also piggybacking on a network. But like you said, if that network wasn't there, he'd be doing it himself. Now, would he be sharing it on the level of a network television show? That I don't know.
If the barrier to entry wasn't difficult, I imagine yes. And I don't ever see Skinwalker ending. Show, not a show. I don't see the insight into what's happening there ever ending. People, just too much interest. There'll always be a way. But like other locations, like you just said, like Norway, that's great. I mean, I feel like we were saying earlier, this has to be, get in instead of finding someone in the States who knows about it. I would immediately like, who are the people that I have to contact? Who's the guy who wrote the paper? Look him up and find the guy who wrote the paper, then contact the guy who wrote the paper. Like, that's how I would approach it. That's super interesting, but there must be others here in the States that.
Yeah,
the other one I've heard about, and it's actually in Utah, is Blind Frog Ranch. Carl Vibe talks about it all the time, and apparently the Blind Frog Ranch has a very similar sort of history, the same sort of weirdness and things.
Isn't that in the Uinta Valley as well?
I believe it is
6 miles away.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
And
we could do
the other network that I pitched the Skinwalker.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, you go to Discovery. Oh wait, never mind. They're licensing Skinwalker.
Oh, you mean the ones who passed on it? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, did they pass on it?
No, just saying.
Maybe.
And all of a sudden, Skinwalker's a hit, and what do they have? Blind Frog. I'd never heard of Blind Frog Ranch ever until all of a sudden it's like, wait, TJ, did you see that? What is it? No, there's another Skinwalker. No, there isn't. Yeah, it's called Blind Frog Ranch. It's right around the corner. Wait, what? They're doing the same thing. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's on Discovery.
Wait, it already is? Are you serious?
Oh, it's already on Discovery Channel?
Yeah, Blind Frog Ranch has already got a show.
Oh, I had no idea.
They already did season 1. That's what I'm saying. Literally, that's what happened.
Oh my God.
They had said no. They passed on Skinwalker way in the beginning. We were first shopping the idea around, and literally season 1 was a hit. Boom!
Now we gotta go watch Blind Frog Ranch.
Wow, we don't have to. I'm like, my excuse is gonna be like, TJ's my boy. I'm not watching that.
Drawing a line.
I'm just saying. I watched it. I need to know. You need to know what's out there, right?
You need to know your competition.
Yeah. My standard will be, well, does the owner have a helicopter?
No.
Okay, then I'm out.
Yeah, see?
I'm out. I'm sorry, I'm out. No.
Yeah, helicopter's kind of badass, man.
It's like helicopters, huh?
Dude, it is hilarious every time he whips that thing out there. Like I noticed the hangar in which they store the helicopter
Just about to tell you that.
is like if you were really paying attention, that was the Bruce Wayne Batcave.
It gets even cooler because the helicopter hangar is so badass that the helicopter is landing on a remote control platform
that moves.
That I'm in the hangar in the helicopter, and all of a sudden it starts to go. You're like, what's going on? Comes out of the hangar, and it's all like neon lights all around the base of it, and he's sitting there with a remote control, just like a RC car.
That's nuts.
It's crazy badass, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
That thing is awesome. Anyway,
man, TJ, bro, thank you so much for being with us tonight, man. I really appreciate it. Your time is dude. Seriously, thank you so much.
We went a half hour over. I mean, that's how much
I know, and we never do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. Sorry, I thought that was fun. No, I mean, trust me. If Michael needed to get out of here, he would have ended the show. Like he would have gotten at it. Yeah.
No, actually, I don't think I would have because this show has been so good. Like I couldn't have.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing.
We learned a lot.
Well, I hope I learned a lot as well. Like I love talking to you guys and just kind of getting other perspectives. And even though I saw a lot of Kristen's head nodding, but not a lot of talking. But it was great. This has been a great experience. And I'm super accessible. Online. Like I try to make sure I am, and I give everyone fair shake and talk to everybody I can. I really feel like this is the only way. Like you were saying, the reciprocity thing, you try to help everybody you can, man. And it's the only way that stuff really gets done in the world. I really think that it's
I agree.
Just don't be a jerk, be good to people. And,
exactly.
It seems pretty simple, but
that's kind of the mantra for our show. It's just like we get these nasty sometimes interactions. We're just like, okay, just be a duck in water, let it roll off, and kind of answer it with kindness, kind of hug your enemies, and it always seems to go away very quickly. And or those people come back around and end up being shows again. Killing them with kindness is a great way to sort of, I think in this community especially, killing people with kindness is, you have to do it.
Yeah,
you have to
just
do it.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to give it any oxygen. I do. I draw the line at death threats. I've had enough of those. I'm done with that crap.
That's funny. I haven't gotten a death threat yet. Could somebody please send me one? That would be
You've
fun.
gotten a death threat, TJ?
Multiple
That's
from
crazy.
people thinking I steal their ideas or I took their thing. Like, really? Okay, great.
That's garbage.
Like I get crazy. Whatever.
Well,
you know what?
You should send the guys over at Black Frog Ranch a death threat.
Listen, if there's an
It's
option,
not
look,
funny.
You just got done preaching, kill him with kindness,
no,
Lou.
death threats, man.
What? It's a kind death threat.
No, it's not. It's a proof. Like, if there's you really know that a show is successful when a competitor pops up.
Yes.
That's how you know you're doing the right thing.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and you want more competitors like that. So, I don't
Absolutely.
know.
And when you get when you get satirized as well. Lou got
Right.
satirized the other day, and
Brilliant.
and he took it like a champ. So
Brilliant.
Your photos are great. Your old timey photos.
Oh, dude, that's our community. That's our community. That
we don't
does
do any of that.
We don't
Yeah,
do any of that stuff.
love
You know, we just got such a killer community around both the shows.
it's amazing.
It really is. It's awesome. So it's fun to watch it grow in this new media world. I think in 5 years we're going to all be laughing our sick asses off. It's going to be really, really cool wherever this
doing it.
conversation goes.
I wish you all the best, man. You guys are kicking butt doing it. You know, keep it up.
TJ, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
The best way is Twitter. Just at TJ Allard on Twitter.
Awesome.
I also have it like at TJ. Like I'm so old that I have at my email is TJ at TJ Allard. I have at TJ Allard at Gmail at Hotmail at Yahoo.
That's not old. That's smart.
Yeah, and no death threats.
No,
UFO
yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, Jesus Christ with the death threats. God damn. Go get a girlfriend.
TJ, what a pleasure, man.
Yeah, this has been great. Oh, thank you so much.
All right,
for all this.
I hope we can do this again soon. I'd love to.
Yes,
all right, brother.
Definitely will. And I'll
Awesome.
talk to you guys online.
For
All right.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All right,
brother.
thanks again.
Thanks,
Talk
bud.
to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Whew, what a killer show. Thank you so much to the Chatterverse as well. Y'all have been great. Thank you to Lou Elizondo's Neck. This show has been sponsored by Jeremy Corbell's Beard. And I couldn't, dude, that was so impressive. Like the amount of like the tiny details that Lou Elizondo's Neck brought to the table tonight was just incredible.
Dude, the guy. Well, you know what's funny is we had Lou Elizondo's Neck come on the show at when we had Bradley Voorhees also come on the show, and dude, they sound exactly alike. As a matter of fact, people thought that Bradley Voorhees was Elizondo's Neck, but we killed that rumor when Elizondo's Neck called as Bradley Voorhees was on the show. So, yeah.
Good
so
stuff.
that killed that room, but it was pretty funny. Sweet. There's this Discord.
Oh, yeah, Discord's right there. If you want to check us out on Discord, if you guys want to hang out behind the scenes, that's where you go to do that. Unfortunately, Lou and we try to get in there. Like I've been in there a little bit the past couple of days, but it's just been so busy. But we really appreciate you guys.
Week just to check
You
on
did?
stuff. Yeah, it was the first time I've been in there in about 4 months.
There's some heavy conversations that go on in there, bro.
Heavy conversations, very heavy conversations. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't have the time.
Matthew Wright just called you out. He said,
No,
Luis
I'm
has
telling
never.
you, as never. Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, literally, I didn't respond to anybody or anything. I was just looking at what was happening. I didn't say hi because I knew I was like, if I say hi, then that means I gotta do this more, and I just don't have the time. Like, I barely have time to answer my YouTube comments.
Well, you don't answer YouTube comments either.
I answer a few, very few, but only if it sticks out.
Right.
But like, yeah, dude, it's tough, man. You know, like just
tomorrow, our first radio show. Make sure you join us on UCR tomorrow, where we'll be simulcasting on YouTube and then on KGRA Radio, which is going to be dope. So yeah, catch us over there tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.
And both of our shows are available in podcast format on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else you find your podcast listening platforms. Don't forget, we have Patreons. Thank you guys so damn much for the super chats. They make the show go round. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. So that way, anytime Michael goes live, I mean, he had an impromptu interview this week with Avi Loeb, which I highly recommend. Go check it out. If you don't ring the bell, you might not know about it. So ring the bell. Check out the merch, and everyone's links are down below.
Love it. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you real soon.
Peace.